Hello, everybody. Today is Saturday, February 17th, and we bring you Block Digest 81 at block height 509,659, where we discuss Coinbase with Mr. Rick.
Hey, everybody. Hope you all are having a great weekend.
JW.
Hey guys, sorry I'm slow on the mute button there. What's up?
Miss Janine.
Guten Tag.
And Mr. Aknix in the Bitcoin bus.
Howdy.
So, Coinbase.
Coinbase.
This is a little bit to untangle real quick, so I'm gonna just dive through all the different sources real quick. But
I thought it was Coinbase.
Well, I kind of was gonna do that again, but it's like this. It really wasn't that much on them on this one, so I kind of just let them swing with the Coinbase this go around.
That's what really fucking threw me off, Rick. Is like at first what we saw was all the people complaining about like overcharges, like somebody getting charged 17 times for $1,000 purchase and literally having their whole bank account wiped out, and just chaos everywhere. And then Coinbase immediately was just like, no, this isn't our problem. Visa recently changed the merchant. I forget the exact term right now, but it's merchant codes for different types of purchases so that they can charge the extra fee and distinguish it from a normal charge. And then they passed the buck off to Visa, and then Visa issued a statement that they had made pretty much no changes to their system that should have resulted in something like this. And then Coinbase, this is like what really threw me off. Coinbase issued a statement through their blog claiming to be a joint statement from Visa and their bank WorldPay. And this was the only place that this was like posted for a while. And like pretty much I went digging around for a while to actually try to confirm this directly from Visa or WorldPay. And all I found was just like places citing the Coinbase blog post claiming to be speaking on the behalf of Visa and WorldPay. And just before we went on air, I found this CNBC article where they claim that Visa and WorldPay confirmed the Coinbase blog post, that this was actually them at fault. But pretty much to like cut through, it's like you have Coinbase, you have WorldPay, their bank, and then you have Visa. And pretty much from what I can put together right now, the problem seems to be on WorldPay's side of things, because this, like, I've seen absolutely nothing from any other service in the space. Like, this hasn't affected anybody but Coinbase. But I find it very odd that this joint statement was pushed out solely through Coinbase's blog. And then there's no actual direct statement from WorldPay or Visa that I can find. And like I said, this article from CNBC is literally the only thing I can find that is indirectly confirming that from Visa and WorldPay. And it's just, I mean, I kind of want to just like dump it all on Coinbase, but like this really does just look like the shit show is completely on the legacy side of things. And I mean, it kind of shows that's the whole point of something like Bitcoin. You can't just initiate a charge without the user themselves actually pushing it.
Did WorldPay say that this affected their other customers also, or just Coinbase? Because that's the thing that that's why I'm still skeptical that it's WorldPay exclusively, because they're pretty big, and I don't remember hearing, or I've done a couple searches. I can't find anybody else other than Coinbase that seems to have a problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just Coinbase to my knowledge right now.
So if that's the case, especially given my recent experience in working with Coinbase's software, my guess is that it's probably maybe a combination of idiots, but But I'm guessing there's some idiocy at Coinbase that let this happen if they're the only ones experiencing it.
Yeah, I think that was part of the reason why. Once it happened, everybody just like ran to Coinbase, and like you started seeing a lot of tweets about how this is just Coinbase being Coinbase again. And then it's kind of the past couple of days have sort of been deciphering who's really at fault of this thing, and it sort of seems to be laying the blame on Visa and this merchant cert. But like you're saying, it seems like they're it's not really affecting anything else outside of Coinbase. So to say that Coinbase just had nothing to do with it, I don't know. It seems like their checkered past sort of states that there's a reason why it only affected them.
Well, what I'm kind of wondering is, AK just mentioned, I'm wondering why their recommendation is to use a debit card or switch to MasterCard. Like, are there really that many people who are buying Bitcoin with their credit card?
So
is that like even recommended? Like I don't even have a credit card. I could never imagine buying Bitcoin on my credit card.
It's really absurd that Coinbase thinks they can make that business work. But yeah, that does seem to be what's going on. So if you want to make a few bucks, just buy a bunch of Bitcoin on Coinbase and then wait I don't know, give it like 2 months just for the heck of it, and then call and report that you didn't do that, and you'll have doubled your money.
Yeah, that's like where the thing I pulled from the story really is just like it really is a good example of these legacy systems where like you could just be charged without your authorization, and Bitcoin kind of steps outside of that system. So like definitely a good example of a reason as to why Bitcoin's a better store of value on that. But what a headache, really, as far as just the Coinbase and one problem after another. But I don't know. Hopefully more people will just start to see this is another reason to start moving towards BISC and those other like local Bitcoins and other ways to get Bitcoins outside of Coinbase and Cash App and those sort of things where they're, on top of everything behind their customers that they're using to get Bitcoin. Because the credit card thing, I was just going to mention, it's like, there's some news in the future we're going to talk about where it seems like this is an issue where people are starting to recognize like you shouldn't allow credit card purchases for Bitcoin.
Yeah, well, we have someone in the troll box who's saying that actually credit cards are a very smart way of buying Bitcoin because you get points. I don't understand the point system or how it works, so I wouldn't even recognize that as a benefit. But if anyone is familiar with that, maybe you can explain how that works.
Yes, Veer, you can get your money back at the price of your soul and your privacy being plumbed and raped by multiple multinational corporations and governments. Totally worth the trade-off. Sarcasm.
So the way that it's kind of like airline miles, a lot of these credit cards, if anybody else is living outside the States, because we've all been propagandized for about 20 years on how great this is. But you either get like some kind of points or some rewards that you can use to buy stuff, or some of the credit cards now will give you like 1 or 2% cash back, but it's usually on certain purchases. So you can get like 2% when you buy gasoline, but you don't get anything when you grocery shop or whatever. So it's kind of a complicated system, but yeah, a lot of people will use credit cards even if they pay it off every month because they get kind of a kickback from the credit card companies.
So what they're technically doing is saying we're going to charge you slightly less for making a bunch of transactions.
Yeah, I mean,
dig yourself into debt and we'll give you pennies back. It's worth it.
It is definitely. I mean, the business model is the fish hook thing, right? Like, yeah, you're going to pay it off every month and you'll get a few points, but then you're going to have a month where you just decide not to pay it off. And they know that that's going to happen often enough. It's kind of like casinos and gambling, right? Like when you first walk in the door, maybe there's some slot machines that don't have terrible odds, but they know you're going to work your way back to the stuff that's the big money makers for them. So that's why they do it. It's not out of the goodness of their heart, but yeah, I mean, I think you could. The privacy thing is really a problem, but it's a problem with everything outside Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, right? You're definitely having a problem with privacy. So if it's not like your privacy is better if you do an ACH. So if you can get 1% or 2% back, 6 of one, half a dozen of another.
Yeah, because the last time I think I used a card to purchase something and not just withdraw money was like 2 years ago. No, a little bit less than 2 years ago.
You're an outside pro.
I'm
Awesome.
extreme.
You are a pro.
Good job. So I do have a painful Coinbase story since we're talking about the joys of using Coinbase.
Shoot.
All right. So I've pretty much told everybody I know not to use Coinbase and not to buy Ethereum, and they all use Coinbase and buy Ethereum. So, I got like 3 different people hit me up within a few days, and their Coinbase accounts were closed, and presumably the other 2 were able to figure it out. But one of my friends was like, he was trading on GDAX. And so he was like, hey, you know, I'm about to withdraw the money. I'm putting it on a hardware wallet like you told me to like a year ago. And I never did that because I trusted them. But now they're closing my account. And so he came over to my house and I helped him go through this process. And it was unbelievable. The summary is that you're not allowed to specify any amounts. So he had a hardware wallet and he had written down his seed. And so I go and I put the public address and I couldn't test it, right? I couldn't go, here's $5. I want to make sure everything's working like a normal, non-insane person. Cause he had like, it wasn't this much, but let's say like 12 Bitcoin. And so you don't want to, I don't know, for me, I'd rather just transfer it, make sure it's coming through, make sure the hardware wallet's working and functional and all that sort of stuff. But you can't do that when they close your account. You can just hit a button and you have to withdraw the whole amount. So I'm kind of like, shit, this sucks. But then I realized he's got like $5 in Bitcoin Cash. So I'm like, okay, perfect. We'll withdraw that. And I think he was using a ledger, but it's really stressful because if you don't, like, the addresses are the same, the address formats that everybody's using for Bitcoin Cash. So if you accidentally send Bitcoin to a Bitcoin Cash address or vice versa, you may or may not be able to recover that. I haven't gone through that whole process. So I'm feeling unsure that I'll be able to keep his money if I accidentally send it to the wrong address, right? So now I've got to make sure that I get the UI right. I've got the drop down. I'm like, it's Bitcoin Cash. Take a deep breath, you know, walk around the room, look at the UI again. Yeah, it's Bitcoin Cash. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and send it. And I'm not feeling great about it. And I can only do this one test, right? And it can't even be with Bitcoin. So I send the Bitcoin Cash. I don't know what's going on with Bitcoin Cash's mining right now, but it comes through. And I'm like, okay, all right, this works. But now I've got to do the big transaction, right? Where if I screw it up in the UI in some way, this is going to be, you know, really painful. So I go in and I'm like, all right, it's Bitcoin now. It's Bitcoin. I'm sure it's Bitcoin. Look at the UI, walk away, take a breath. You know, yep, still Bitcoin. It's all or nothing. Do I put in the address or not? And then he's like, you know, I wonder if I've done a good job keeping my seed secure. And I'm like, well, shit, dude, you should have told me that before, but now's a good time because if that's floating around. And so we're thinking about just wiping his hardware wallet and starting over, right? And then he's like, nah, I think it's fine. It's, you know, I don't think the maid stole it or anything. Let's just do it. And I'll transfer it to another hardware wallet later, right? If I realize I've misplaced it. I'm like, all right. And this is the kind of stuff you go through when you're trying to help somebody else out like this. It's stressful for me to deal with, you know, the very, by comparison, little bit of Bitcoin that I kick around, but this guy's an exec. And so he's, you know, he saved up some money and he's kind of going heavy on Bitcoin. So anyway, so I make sure that I've got the thing right. I paste over the address. I verify that, you know, it's the same address. I'm, you know, making sure that I don't have like software that's changing what's on my clipboard or whatever, you know, all the stresses that I'm thinking about. And I click send and I get an error message. And the error message is you're trying to send 0.00001 Bitcoin. You can't send that amount. And I'm looking at the button and the button says sending, let's say 12.28, right? I'm like, what the all right, well, that sucks. So we're like, all right, I don't know. I like restart my computer, clear my browser history, do all the dumb crap that you can do with the error that comes up. None of it works. Still try again, still the same error. So we go, you know, hang out for 15 minutes and we're thinking we're just going to try it one more time before he takes off. We come back in and it's gone. There's no balance in his Coinbase account. And I'm like, whoa, what happened? So we have this stressful moment. I pop in the hardware wallet. Sure enough, the transaction went through. So it was a false error. He actually did drain his account. So like, oh, thank God, right? No big deal. Good riddance, Coinbase. But then I look back in the UI and it didn't actually drain his account. It left 0.0000128, let's say. And his balance was, let's say, 12.8. So there's like a off by one error in their calculation when they're trying to drain the whole account. They didn't get the full amount. They have some goofy bug where they actually leave a small percentage of your balance in the account.
Yep.
So
I've had that happen quite a few times.
I mean, the end result of that whole experience is just a profound appreciation for how bad the developers are at Coinbase. It is unbelievable that they would have a UI error that says the transaction failed. I mean, imagine if I had said, okay, you know what, you're right, dude, let's go ahead and nuke that hardware wallet because you're not sure if you lost the seed. We haven't sent the money out of Coinbase yet. And we were talking about it, right? There's like 15 minutes, we're kicking it around. I could have easily popped in his hardware wallet, nuked it because there's no money on it yet, and set him up with a new 24-word seed, and then gone back and tried to transfer the money out of Coinbase, only to find that that error that it failed to send wasn't true, and that it had already sent it to now a private key that I've nuked. And that is $100,000 completely gone, completely irrecoverable. And then what do? We sue Coinbase and say, hey, we hit a button to send the money to us. You sent the money to us, but you gave us an error telling us you weren't going to do it. And we deleted the private key. We wouldn't be able to prove we didn't have access to those funds, right? So those guys are just unbelievable. And the reason that I say they're unbelievable is that if you were making a video game, you would make these things atomic, right? This is an all or nothing transaction. It either goes through, every step is passed, or the database is set up and the code is written to roll back everything as if it never happened. And they didn't do that. So it's pretty incredible. And
JW, I take offense at you insulting the competence of programmers at Coinbase. Like they are so good. They have a fucking time traveling Bitcoin node. I mean, I've made deposits and had their node update me with over 600,000 confirmations. I mean, like that takes some serious skill, JW. It's like I got a message from Bitcoin in the future.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. We're probably just being so critical because it's not like there's millions of people's, dollars at stake here. I mean, it's just a fun game. It's just, it's okay to have this level of coding skill because this is just Bejeweled, right? It's all right.
Yeah, it's something where I think we'll start seeing a lot of that competition, like just sort of step up and show the way that this system should be worked and managed, and like those guys will just definitely eat their lunch because they're only sitting there because they were the only guys. That it's pretty evident in just the way that they're doing business like that, because it is scary sitting in a Bitcoin transaction and you have just any little error in there. You can lose your money, and then you have these guys programming these things where these errors coming up, and it's definitely something where, that they need to be phased out. It's going to happen, though, soon. I think we're starting to see that. We'll get into it more with these news stories and jump back.
I think if you're not a putz like me who has a dire need for something like the shift card, everybody should take a cue from Janine's example.
Yeah, so I tweeted this summer last year. And basically, I don't really retweet news about Coinbase anymore. I just retweet this tweet saying, look, I told all of you to get out last year if you're not listening yet. The reason I retweeted is because when they, that was the time that they brought on Catherine Hahn, who was the prosecutor in the Silk Road 2.0 case. So not Silk Road with Ross Ulbricht, but Silk Road with a different person. And she was the prosecutor there. And they brought her onto the board of directors. And people thought, wow, this is like a signal of respectability. They're going to now there's no way they can screw up now because they have a formal federal prosecutor now on their board of directors. And it's like, nope, that's not going to happen, guys. So every time Coinbase news comes up, I retweet myself and be like, you should have gotten out last year for this reason.
Yep. And with Shinobi on that one, the shift card or I'd be gone.
It's
Well,
like literally that's the only reason I use them is I literally at this point have no other option to be able to feed myself. Like the second I have some kind of viable alternative, goodbye Coinbase.
Have you tried that Cash App card yet, Shinobi? Just curious.
No, they still haven't enabled deposits for coins out of the Square Cash App. So all you can do is buy, sell what you already have there, or withdraw. But like the second I get wind of deposits being enabled, like you bet your ass I'm getting on that.
Yeah, I was thinking about that just the other night. I was like, I got that Cash App card. Let's see. I just got sidetracked, figured out to ask.
You need to sell for a slight premium to make it worth your trouble on BISC, and then just deposit dollars into your Cash App card.
Yeah, you see, there's all those little ways to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's enough of an annoyance having to kind of pre-plan and like send a few $100 to Coinbase whenever I know I'm gonna need stuff. I just want to be able to just go click and send chunks of Bitcoin somewhere and then just have it accessible on the card and not have to deal with all the extra like steps and hassle. You know what I mean?
Yep, totally. I just want you guys to know you're my friends, but as I tweeted out, I will never help another friend with Coinbase problems again. That just about caused me to have a heart attack. So good luck. God bless. I have said to get out too many times. If any of my other friends are listening, F you. I'm not helping you with Coinbase anymore.
I'll phase him out, I promise.
What you went through wasn't even the worst case scenario. I mean, imagine like the 2-factor authentication was on. Oh man, it ends up dragging that out to a 3-4 day process.
Yeah, exactly. The custodial like businesses in the space do not know how to do 2FA. Okay, none of them. They always screw it up. I don't know why 2FA is so fucking hard for these people, but it is. This is why I'm not surprised that they haven't implemented SegWit yet, even if they have no ideological reason to not implement it or a business reason. Like they are just really screwed up. They cannot do basic things like 2FA. Like that should not be hard. We've been doing this for years.
Yeah, and you know, it wasn't even all the stress of going through the process and looking at the errors. It was that I was that close to making a decision that cost my friend $100,000. Like I could have nuked his hardware wallet because I was sure there was nothing on it, right? Would have checked the balance, there wouldn't have been anything there, nuked it. And then only to find out that Coinbase was in the process of sending out the transaction, even though they told me it was a failed transaction. So yeah. And then what do? Like, sorry, dude. Or, well, I'll give you, I'll give you half a Bitcoin because I don't have that much, but I'll try to take the sting out of it or whatever, yeah, no likey. So I help no one with Coinbase no more.
I mean, this latest incident with the overcharges, it's not something that can be laying at Coinbase's feet, but hey, I mean, just because one fuck up happened that isn't their fault doesn't magically erase the long history of fuck up after fuck up after fuck up, just displaying gross incompetence.
Yeah, so are you telling me that the traditional financial system has a double spend problem? I wonder how we could fix that.
Well said.
Well, I guess slide along to legacy financial system problems. Everybody's well aware, we've covered it a few times, that credit card purchases are being disabled all over the place for cryptocurrencies, but Citibank in India is now also disabling debit purchases as well. And this is pretty much because of the FUD that the Reserve Bank of India has been pushing out nonstop as India is kind of grappling with how to handle the regulatory framework they're working on right now. And as well, the Kotak Mahindra Bank, if I'm pronouncing that right, is at the same time saying that they're doing pretty much the same thing. And then even further down here, we have a banker who's saying in the case of online purchases, including crypto and virtual currency, the bank does not have the legal authority to stop you from engaging in such a purchase. So, I mean, I know it's a little different with a credit card because you're taking out a line of credit. And in that case, they do have the right to kind of go yes or no. But as far as a debit card accessing your own money, I find it kind of ridiculous that we're starting to see major banks in India shut down purchases through a debit card from your own account with money you actually have and are supposed to have legal control over, when you have other bankers in India pretty much saying that's not legal. Like, they have no right to like blacklist or prevent purchases like that. And here's actually our Rasul Sakar showing the notification he got from Citibank that they're disabling debit purchases. And I mean, this is like, custodians are a factor that means you do not have control over your money, whether it's crypto or cash. It's really the same thing. At the end of the day, if they want to say you can't have your money, well, taking legal recourse to things isn't something that just gets fixed overnight. That is a big time opportunity cost that you're going to have to deal with in the event of a situation like this.
Like, I imagine this is strongly correlated to chargeback issues and fraud, right? And you can do this with many debit cards. You can actually do chargebacks and such, as well as credit cards, right? So that's like a potential issue. I don't think the legacy systems are flexible enough where they can add some kind of flag for a company that's doing no refund type transactions, right? That's really what's needed. A way to like put the block in there to say like, nope, this person purchased cryptocurrencies with this specific transaction number, and that they can't be allowed to refund this. And like, I just don't know if that ability is in most of the systems.
It doesn't exist, period. And it doesn't exist because it would be illegal for it to exist. All of the payment systems that exist right now, in the US banking system at least, are reversible because none of them require a password. I can draw money out of your checking account with the information on the check. All I need is your account number and routing number. I can put thousands of dollars of spend on your credit card, and all I need is the credit card number that you hand to every waiter at every bar. So the only, it reminds me of like drive chains, right? Like the only solution is just to go back in time and say, yep, everybody can steal the money, but the security feature is we can reverse history. It's not a great design.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe the precedent there is to start shifting that, allow them to create no refund transactions for specific asset types, right? Like maybe that's the path forward.
No, Bitcoin's the path forward, man. The whole old system is so screwed up that it's not even usable. Because if you do enable irreversible transactions without any reasonable authentication, and they are not anywhere near envisioning reasonable authentication, what would happen is somebody would steal your credit card and then they'd buy Bitcoin and they'd just mark it as an irreversible transaction. And
well, that's what I was thinking. There'd have to be some kind of like, it's cryptocurrency only. The asset type is cryptocurrency, and you actually have to go and, submit your details. And like, yeah, there's only like 3 of these or 100 of these or so, and that's it. So there's not many, and it wouldn't be a frequent transaction type, right?
Right. But the only way to be sure that the person using the credit card is actually you is to use a private key, right? And now we're back at Bitcoin again. And they can't handle that. They can't even envision what that would be like. So all of the solutions to that security problem will draw you to slowly turn the US dollar into Bitcoin, which it already exists. So why bother?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed in the description there, they like make a list of like, you cannot do this for Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and virtual currencies. First of all, I'd like to know what they put under the category of virtual currency, because that's kind of like a blanket term for like any kind of money that exists on the internet in some form, including US dollars and euros and every other currency that has been digitized. That is what a virtual currency is. So are they saying that they're not going to allow you to to make transfers into any other fiat digital currency? Like, it just doesn't make sense. I hate when they use that word, because there's so many, like most of the currency that is on a daily basis that is used in fiat, it's digital. Like, that's
Exactly.
such a horrible description.
What they need to say is, we will not let you transfer money using a credit card or debit card into any secure digital currencies.
Wait.
If you want to go into another insecure one, that's fine.
Janine, are you telling me that the world economy today functions on a non-existent thing that you can't feel or touch? That's crazy.
Oh my God. It's like they're using Bitcoin, but not quite, just with the reversibility and not private and no privacy. And yeah, it's basically Bitcoin, isn't it?
No, we're all on Ethereum. That's what it is. It's a database that's slow. It might even be as slow as Ethereum's database, although that'd be tough. And it's reversible. So yeah, we're all.
Wait a second. Who is the fiat version of Vitalik? The Federal Reserve Chair. He's the one that sets the inflation rate, just like Vitalik, and decides ultimately which transactions are good and which ones are bad. But Janet Yellen just left, so who's the new guy? I don't even know who the new guy is.
I don't either.
We need an election for a new Vitalik. Dictators for life are unacceptable. Elect a new Vitalik.
Shinobi, you're being that scary cypherpunk again that made Vitalik tweet how much he likes regulators.
That's also
silly. Okay. All right. Let's slide along to the next thing. Just mentioned regulation in India. So for those of you who don't know, quick recap of the Aadhaar system is pretty much a biometric database system. And currently, you're required to provide your Aadhaar ID to any exchange in India to actually use their services. But all of that data is siloed pretty much among the different exchanges. And right now, people are pretty much pushing to condense all of that into a single database so that everything in pretty much all Indians who are using cryptocurrency exchanges would have all of their activity tied to their Aadhaar number, tracked and tagged in a centralized database in one place, so that pretty much every bit of cryptocurrency activity that is not cash in hand in India is tagged and tagged in a database for the government to access. And the one thing that I found, like, aside from the ridiculous outrage at this in the first place, was, okay, here's my horrible memory with where things are in articles. And I'm sure Janine wants to yell about this ad. That pretty much cryptocurrency exchanges would be able to access this and see what people are doing at other businesses. And so my big problem with this is not only the fact that this is being condensed into a centralized database for the government to pick through, but I also think it's kind of fucked up on another level, that it's being plugged into a centralized database that all of these independent businesses would have access to. Because, like, sweep aside for a split second the problems of the government crawling through all this data, like, why is one business entitled to pick through the internal operations and records of another business? Like,
I don't think you need to worry one bit about that, man. This will be the most egalitarian set of data that anybody could ever want, because it will be hacked and it will be leaked and it will be published for the whole world to see. And every criminal that has an interest in it will have access to it. And so it'll be very fair in the end. You won't have to worry about those few companies that have access to it.
Yeah, because in case everyone hasn't heard, the AdHard database for the ID system itself has already been hacked multiple times. I think I saw a report that it costs $5 to be able to access everyone's information. Don't know if they fixed that, but probably whatever they did to fix it probably isn't enough.
Yeah, all these data breaches just get worse and worse. I even heard that Equifax would come back around saying it's even worse than we thought. And it's just, yeah, it's such a dumb idea because of that reason. And like JW saying, you know, you get all these criminals, like the addresses of people that are trading large amounts of crypto. It's not going to be pretty. I don't know why anyone thinks this would be a smart idea, other than you just don't understand the way that, you know, the system works, or you know what we're trying to achieve and all that. You don't look that far down the road.
Yeah, because see, what should have happened with Equifax is that they'd be like, fuck no, you're not doing this business anymore. You just lost half of the country's very personal information. You should go out of business. No, instead they get a contract from the IRS to run the identity verification system. Idiots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's almost as if computer scientists have figured out that a central database can't be secured. It's almost like that. It's almost like we need, like, I don't know, some kind of distributed technology that maybe uses proof of work or something like that. I don't know, but it could be that we've already discovered that this is just an unsolvable problem in that way.
Mm-hmm. And now that I have that stupid ad out of the way, yeah, this is pretty much here where they're talking about all cryptocurrency exchanges would have access to each other's data. And they go further on to talk about recommending a code of conduct, or pretty much, I read that as kind of an informal, like, self-regulatory attitude towards things. And like pretty much the crux of what I really find disturbing about this is India is declaring cryptocurrency not a legal tender, not a currency. So it's not just that they're refusing to recognize it as such, they're actively stating it is not. And it's pretty much illegal to actually use cryptocurrencies in exchange for goods and services. And if you look here, they're even talking people can still trade as if they're stock or gold. And like, I really don't like this, because this is effectively telling people they can store their wealth here, but they're setting up this entire framework that's effectively pegged into a biometric identification system where everybody's wealth is tagged, tracked, cataloged, like documented down to the fucking decimal point. And like, India being a country that previously worked, or still does, I guess, despite all of the trouble with demonetization, functions mostly on cash, is a country where they are collectively the biggest gold holders in the world on an individual basis. Like, most of their wealth is just, they have it. Like, it's not something catalog, tagged. You're not a number in a database with every cent you own recorded. And if we move into this world, like a lot of us think we are in the process of doing, where cryptocurrencies becomes this huge dominant, like, financial asset or store of value and continues marching towards being a currency, like, you're talking about upending the entire country where people are able to privately, like, within their own control, manage their wealth. Everything effectively be shoved into a gigantic database where literally everything you own, every bit of value you have, is tagged, cataloged. The government is aware of every cent, who owns it, where, down to a biometric level. Like, there is no plausible deniability. There is no, like, room for error or fudging things. Like, the government would know everything that you own in terms of crypto assets and how much of your wealth is stored in it. And that's just incredibly fucking disturbing, especially looking back at their recent experiment with demonetizing cash and the consequences that created. Like, that is going to shock their economy for years to come, and literally collapsed large parts of the country back into bartering. because of all the complexities of dealing with handing your money in, because it's no longer worth anything unless you change it in, declare it, and get these new notes. I mean, like, this is sick to me. This is like the Indian government is treating their population like a science experiment.
Well,
to see how it goes with just grabbing control of every bit of wealth and money that they have.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you know, this story and the previous one, like, it just has me thinking back about India and the way, like, whenever the whole like idea of like currency wars against the population started, it was from there. And you know, I think they were getting rid of the 100 rupee note or something like that, where it just was kind of harder to, you know, for the average person to move around the amounts of money they need from day to day. And you know, in India, the population has really exploded, and they've always had like a pretty dynamic system as far as lots of kings and princes, and you know, they have their servants and you know, this feudal system. And it's like as far as like you're saying, it's like there's a lot of gold in that ecosystem over there. They wear it a lot. It's pretty predominant throughout their culture and everything like that. It's kind of scary. It's one of those things where whenever I see all these stories coming out of India, it's like, it seems like the most dystopian place to be right now as far as like the way that we're moving in the future. It looks like they are not really willing to accept this this sort of tech, and they don't want the ideas of whatever we're going to achieve, you know, it moving into their borders. It's something where when I see these stories coming out of India, it's always going that direction. And yeah, it's really upsetting. Just the idea that this is going to be something that's efficient for them, but it won't be efficient like in helping people, you know, have their individuality and their own, you know, ability to take care of themselves. It's really going to be that it's just going to be more emphasis on this feudal system and just pushing it forward. It's aggravating to see these stories come out of there, but it's a lot of people there. It's a lot of people that are, you know, in a bad place. So I mean, and you know, they're not stupid. I mean, they can learn some of this stuff. I think that you know, like we're saying, as far as the chargebacks, and it's not illegal to sell a crypto there. It's like you know, they're trying to ban it. They're trying to discourage it and everything. But you know, we know that doesn't really work. We'll see what happens, but it doesn't look good as far as news coming out of India and the future progress of trying to empower individuals. Doesn't look good.
Yeah, I mean, like JW, they're literally tagging and tracking people like cattle.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, India is kind of interesting, and I can't say that I have a ton of expertise in it, but I do have some friends that are from India and travel back and forth, and I'm always surprised. It's always kind of weird what they say about stories like this. And one of the things that I know that they would say if I was talking to them about it is that as much as that sounds awful, the government over there is so much less powerful than the U.S. government that that even though they're trying to do this sort of stuff and they're a little bit more, they're certainly less subtle about it and maybe arguably less competent. There's so many people that just have very little contact with the government at all. I don't know what the percentage of people are that have the equivalent of a social security number. I think it's the Aadhaar number is that equivalent, but it's not anything close to the number of people that have a social security number in the United States. So I think we're bagged and tagged far more effectively and efficiently than even India would like to achieve over the next 10 or 20 years. But yeah, they're definitely not saying the right things and talking the right language. But I think the silver lining is they're just far less effective. So we've got a lot of things going for us being in the heart of the empire, but being able to look at countries like India and think they don't have as much freedom is definitely not one of them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you kind of look at a little bit of the opposite side of the spectrum. Malaysia's central bank is taking a little bit more of a positive tone. I mean, they're working on a kind of loose framework, but at the end of the day, basically what they're going to be doing is pretty much just leaving things to the market. I mean, all they're really trying to push for is kind of like a framework of transparency, so that it's not really so conducive to scammers and outright fraud and lies. But at the end of the day, want to just leave like the choice of whether or not to invest in cryptocurrencies to their own users, or I mean their own citizens. Sorry. And like part of the rationale for this is kind of the general income in the country, and the fact that about 40% of the population can't afford to purchase a home. And he kind of breaks down kind of local salary, and I assume kind of projects from that an average level of savings, and goes to say that, you know, with an average salary of around $800 or a little less, most people can only really afford to invest maybe $50,000 US in property. And that's kind of very limiting in like what you can invest in, because most of the recent development in terms of real estate is condominium properties, and those are not really the cheapest place to live or purchase in terms of property. And kind of in a pretty stark contrast to what's going on in India, like they're actually looking for ways to actively help their individual citizens and give them like a means of investment to store their wealth or grow their wealth, and pretty much are kind of leaving policies as like the last resort. Like they're like, the head of the central bank says here, when necessary, policymakers should be bold in drafting policies, especially when the operation and financial and economic system face pressure or the yardsticks are no longer effective. I'm not exactly sure what he means by yardsticks, but I think it's pretty clear that that's like in context of everything else he's saying, like that's kind of the last resort. It's not let's go nuts trying to draft up regulations and create artificial limitations for this market. Let's see how this goes first and actually allow people to make decisions for themselves.
Yeah, I have two comments about that article, if you can bring it up again. The first one is that I've noticed that people do not know how to use Yes, yeah. They do not know, not just in this article, but I've seen a number of tweets over the last year or so that people do not know how to use punctuation. Guys, when it's at the bottom there where it says upcoming ICOs, you should not have the little punctuation mark there. You don't need it. It's a plural word. When you're using the punctuation mark, that is for claiming possession of things, like this is Bob's fork or this is Bob's
like
coin.
If it was upcoming ICO's toaster, then the toaster would be owned by the ICOs.
Yes. But if you're just talking plural of something, you do not need that mark. So whoever is the editor for this magazine or crypto money, you need to get up to date on that. I'm a bit concerned with the fact that the cryptocurrencies listed out in the first statement there is Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Ripple. First of all, Ethereum is not the currency. Ether is the currency. Ripple is also not the currency. Ripple is the platform. XRP is the currency. So I'm glad that they're taking a light hand on cryptocurrencies. I'm a bit freaked out that Ripple is one of the three that they want to list, and that they don't even know the difference between the platform and the actual cryptocurrency.
Well, I mean, not everybody's good at grammaring.
Well, so I have a funny story about this. So the common way to say that, you know, if someone is good at speaking English, people would say, you speak good English. But that's actually not the correct sentence format. You say, you speak English well. And the reason I know that is because I saw it in a movie about World War II where this English guy tells this German soldier, you speak good English. And he's like, you speak, and then the German guy responds, I speak English well. It was the funniest thing ever. And I told this to Chris like a few weeks ago, and he looked at me, he's like, no. And this is a guy from the country who invented the English language.
Oh, no.
Like,
oh my God.
Like, sorry If you're an English person and you don't know that, I'm disappointed. You're supposed to know proper English. Because he is constantly telling me things that I'm saying are wrong, but are right in the American sense of English.
Oh, man. I'm starting to wonder more and more if I'm saying things the right way, but I don't know. I just sort of go along with, well, I'm from the Bayou, so you just kind of have to roll with my accent and the way I say things. I'm sorry.
Hey, you can pull off a lot more being from Louisiana. You know, you have that. You can easily cop out there.
Yeah, I could just start saying something. Yeah, I would just roll right out of it. Yeah, I don't know. We know what I was talking about. Don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hate to say it, but I think you are going to get very triggered in a little bit, Janine.
Why? Is something bad coming up?
Well, you'll see. And I guess on my part, I made a little goof on this next article, so I'm just gonna snap it up for a second, and then everybody can laugh that I don't have a translation plugin for Firefox. But the link is in the show notes for everybody who actually wants to go pick through it themselves. And I guess I'll fix this by next time. But the European Union had a draft for kind of like a rough assessment, I guess, of how to set up regulation and a framework for distributed ledger technologies, as they put it. And the long and short of it is just, Jesus Christ, like it's like every single bad blockchain idea that's ever been proposed just put into this proposal as a good idea, and how we need to push all these things forward to empower people. And like, for instance, medical records, they apparently still have not realized that a blockchain is not a general purpose database, and it's not just a place that you shove all kinds of data that you actually want to retrieve later for general purposes. They speak about ICOs as a positive thing that could enable better capital investment for entrepreneurs. And it's like the whole thing reads to me like Ethereum went over there, paid people a bunch of money, and now they're just spewing every bad idea that Ethereum fanatics push forward as a solution for non-existent problems.
Yeah, because speaking of, when I mentioned Catherine Hunt earlier, when she joined Coinbase, one of the things I found about her was she gave, I think she was on a panel discussion, or she gave a talk at a conference, and one of the things she said was that she thinks birth certificates should go on the blockchain. Interesting, because this is basically the extent to which I think blockchain, at least the Bitcoin blockchain, goes with birth certificates. I would find it, I'm pretty sure someone has done it. There's so many, Bitcoin people now that probably one of them has had a kid and they've read off the block height when their kid was born. That would make sense to me. Put the block height on their birth certificate. Do not put their actual birth certificate in the blockchain.
Okay, I really quickly dug up another article that's in English, actually. It's actually kind of broke down the proposal and has a lot of commentary on it, so just want to buzz through a few points. Whereas distributed ledger technology can empower citizens by giving them ownership of their data. How? Like what mechanics here? This comes back to, this is a database. We can stuff things in. And like that's not how it works. Like if you want to, here's a simple non-blockchain solution for this. If the EU really wants to encourage that, as a very socialist-leaning organization, I have a solution for you. Pass laws that require companies who manage large amounts of consumer data to, by default, set their systems up to store everything encrypted so that they don't have direct access to things, and create some kind of interface or way for users to interact with that in a way where they're the ones granting permission for their data. Can anybody tell me how a blockchain is necessary or helps with that?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely, I guess you could say with Bitcoin, you own your data, but you definitely don't control it because it's being verified across thousands of computers all around the world. Like, you don't control it. And so, yeah, you basically, the only thing you control is the ability to send Bitcoin to a different place within the ledger, but you don't actually own the data that says where it is. The data is owned by everyone. So that doesn't make much sense.
I think these guys are just starting to realize like public key cryptography works, because they haven't implemented it in any of the, like we were talking about before. It has nothing to do with checks or cash or any ways that we pay. I just seem to assume that that stuff hasn't been invented yet. Even if it's like 40 years old now. So
also,
I think that's what's throwing them. They're like, this encryption stuff, there's really something to this. We should look into this.
Yeah. Also, what is the deal with capitalizing distributed ledger technology? Is it a company? Is it like, why is it capitalized? You can have the acronym. I get you want to have the acronym, but the phrase itself does not need to be capitalized. The whole point of an acronym is that you have it after the phrase to represent it. You don't need to capitalize the actual words.
As somebody that really struggles to spell, I really enjoy being able to make fun of all this bad grammar, because I can't spell, but at least I know when to capitalize things in general.
Yeah, but
well,
I mean,
hey, you have to take into account if people weren't bad at spelling, we never would have had HODL. So.
Yeah, but he was drunk, so that doesn't really. I mean, I am as dumb as that guy when it comes to spelling sober. So I don't know. That doesn't make me feel much better.
Mm-hmm. And section B, whereas DLT is a general purpose technology with strong potential to improve products and services by disrupting value chains and improving efficiency. What does that word salad mean? Like what that's just words
general
together.
Purpose? Wait, I would not describe distributed ledgers as a general purpose technology. What?
No, neither would I. Like it's a very specific purpose technology. It is when you want to establish a system that people cannot shut down or censor.
I think they saw general purpose computing written down somewhere, and they were like, that's brilliant. I like the sound of that. Because general purpose technology is the most absurd concept, right? Like a general purpose hammer. Like it can do anything. It can fly, it can slice, it can dice, it can hit nails. It's a general purpose.
Yeah, it's like I have a general purpose laptop that can only store data or can only add data to a distributed blockchain. Like general purpose my ass.
Mm-hmm. And then it's like more word salad. Whereas DLT introduces an IT-based paradigm of social value that promotes self-sovereignty, trust, and transparency. That requires very specific design considerations and very specific engineering trade-offs that pretty much make it ridiculously inefficient compared to any other solution. And only in very specific cases.
Well, that word salad there, like, I mean, like, you just skipped over that paragraph there. That's like one of the ones that triggered me, is like, goes back to that energy argument of just like, oh, well, these things are an egregious waste of energy. And like, so DLT, it's still evolving. It's going to have strong potential. It's just like a total, like, they don't understand what it is. And they hear words being used. And so they start formulating their ideas, and then they put this thing together where it's obvious that they just don't understand what we're doing. I mean, can't even we haven't covered the story where I was getting into something similar to this, but it's just like the words are just, it's not being used in the proper context. I mean, there's a lot of this going on where they're saying things, but it's just, they're just saying things. It's not really pertinent.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, if you, let's replace DLT in this one with database, whereas database is still evolving, and it is therefore necessary to create a framework of legal certainty around applications that have originated from it. Now, with the context of database and all these nonsense pipe dream applications they think DLT is useful for, The EU is riddled with regulations on personal information and databases and how they're supposed to be managed. Like this is the political organization that mandated by law the right to forget. That pretty much established that companies like Google are legally mandated to delete and remove from the internet personal information if somebody so requests. Like, so again, you replace DLT with database. Where is the uncertainty there? Like how personal information needs to be managed by companies. There's probably nowhere outside of the European Union that has more regulations and strict like requirements for that anywhere.
Yeah, this is literally the governmental body that for a while was thinking of banning things like Bitcoin because you couldn't force it to forget data. Like, I don't know what they think they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Can't beat them, join them. I think maybe they don't know why, but they know that they can't win, so they're trying to get on the bandwagon, even though they don't know where it's headed or what it is.
But they jumped on the Ethereum bandwagon. Like, I think you're right. Whenever you said that, they had some Ethereum guys come over and just explain it, because this is what it sounds like. They just don't have a good understanding.
Yeah, and it's like here, like whereas DLT can improve significantly key sectors of the economy as well as the quality of public services, providing high-level transactional experience to consumers. Okay, we're back to database again. Blockchains right now in the state they are at suck for transactional use. Like they suck. There is literally years of improvements to protocols and the efficiencies and actually thinking through how to develop stacks on top to actually handle that transactional use case before it's anywhere near ready for that. And if you just ignore that and cram things into the blockchain, you're back to a database. Like, how does a database improve the transactional experience whatsoever? I mean, I hate the underlying consequences of things like credit cards, the unit of account they work with, and what that actually means at the end of the day for my purchasing power long term. But they work pretty damn well. I slide the thingy, I press a button, and I'm done.
Yeah, I like this this paragraph where it says the trick here is, again, equivocation between jargon meanings for words and conventional meanings. Shared Excel sheets, Google Docs, and Git would all count as distributed ledgers in the broad sense, and nobody makes magical claims about those. Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I was just putting in the group chat, is that I think I figured it out. I think that these guys know so little about the world around them that it's just like magic, right? Like technology in general. So if you say, technology can solve problems that helps us to trust each other, or technology can solve the problem of storing medical records, or technology is going to help with, cancer, right? Like anything. Yeah, that's true. So if you just take out the word blockchain or DLT and throw in technology, that's the level of detail with which these people operate at. They don't even know that a database is for storing data. So I think that's what we're seeing.
I think you're right.
And it's like these two things here. I think they accidentally made just a little bit of sense without realizing it. That DLTs improve trust between transacting parties and allow peer-to-peer exchange of value that can empower citizens, disrupting legacy models. Yeah, okay, yeah, I'll give you that. But I bet you $1 million if you went to the people who actually drafted this and asked them for an in-depth explanation of why, they would have absolutely no idea. Like, it does. And then down here with energy markets, like, yes, like, okay, if you actually had scalable transactional systems layered out to make a blockchain system, or a air quote DLT, scalable and useful for transactional uses, then yes, you could do something like have more metered use of electricity in a way where you don't have a custodial aspect of the money you're paying with. But where does that improve the actual distribution of the energy? Like, it's still the same energy infrastructure. things are metered right now. It's just they work on a completely trust-based system in terms of actually paying for things. So like what is new energy infrastructure just going to magically snap into being because you're using a distributed database?
Yeah, actually, I take that back. I think technology is too specific. I think it should just literally be like somebody said in the troll box, magic. Because like the average government bureaucrat, I don't even know if he knows how like leverage works. Like if you showed them that you could put like you could put like a rock that's really heavy and then add a lever, and then one side moves fast and the other side slow, but you have more strength on the slow side. I think that they would just freak out. They'd be like, "Whoa, what is this magic?" So yeah, I think you just replace magic, not technology, not database. They're not getting that deep. Just magic, and then we can all speak the same language together, have a real conversation.
I think instead of saying technology, we should start saying polytechnics, and then they'll even be more amazed.
Oh no!
Oh, that's painful.
Polytechnology.
Here is the
right. How can we make technology plural?
Here's the telling part, though. Underlines that consensus mechanisms based on proof of work concepts like Bitcoin. I like how they only point to Bitcoin here, not pretty much every single cryptocurrency out there that's functioning on proof of work, are energy wasting and environmentally unsustainable. It seems to me that these people
digital magic technology is kind of dicey. I mean, it's got some downsides.
Real quick, JW, the cherry on the cake. Alternative consensus mechanisms, like proof of stake or proof of authority, are less energy demanding and more desirable. So let's
really
back
wait.
Energy part. Hold on, just real quick. The energy part. I think that these people believe that mining will just grow and grow and grow forever. That it's just never going to stop. It's like you are just always going to have more miners coming on no matter what. And it's going to gobble up all the energy that humanity can produce. And people who think that are the most economically illiterate people on earth. Let me make this example. Are you going to keep building skyscrapers everywhere? Are you going to knock down every bit of natural land on the earth and cover the entire surface of the earth with skyscrapers? Or are you going to stop when you can't make money doing so?
No. You just look at the number of skyscrapers built in the last 10 years and you extrapolate that out 150 years. And of course, the whole earth is covered in skyscrapers. What are you talking about?
Well, my favorite part is that they think that proof of authority, which is what we have now, would not be energy demanding. Like, have you seen have you ever counted how many data centers Visa has to use to run all of their fraud protection stuff? Like, how is it not energy demanding?
Well, it's magic, Janine.
Right.
Yeah, they apparently don't know where the immutability part comes from because proof of stake doesn't give you that.
But it's like they also don't understand the use of energy either. It's like, it feels like, I mean, one of these, I think it's the Iceland story where they talk about it. It's the same type deal where it just talks about use of energy. And it's just like, it's just not describing it the right way. It's talking about how this is just burning all this energy, but it's really consuming our excess energy. And I mean, like, it's really all not, I mean, like the wasted energy is like, yeah, all the lights that are just sitting on with nobody sitting under it and like a heater blowing whenever it's hot outside. Like, that's a waste of energy. Like, this is securing value. It's like, if anything, the most important thing that you should be spending your energy on.
Yeah, scroll back up a little there. There's a section where they talk about what proof of authority is. Yeah, proof of authority is a fancy, I like how they call it a fancy name for having a small white list of nodes that validate transactions. Oh my God.
It must have took this. I wrote down proof of participation. Like they wrote that somewhere.
Decentralization is so much more efficient if you centralize it. You idiots, we all know that. We all know that giving one person the power to decide everything is more efficient. The whole point of decentralization is to give individuals power. Yes, it is less efficient, but that is the price we pay for freedom.
Do you see that stupid line up above that where it says, what does it say? It says in cryptocurrency, proof of stake means those with the most coins get to mine the next lot of coins. Them what has gets. I've heard that one. Them what has gets. And I'm from the South, man.
Is this, Shinobi, is this what you were talking about, offensive grammar?
Oh, no. I literally just found this because I didn't have the translation plugin.
Proof of stake. Them what has gets.
Them's what has gets.
They've gone right past offensive and into humor territory.
I need my like a big line piece of straw when I speak that language.
And then, oh my God, it's like back to the healthcare stuff. Like I'm gonna scroll past this because we've already gone over how retarded that part is. Yep. Oh my God. And then supply chains. Okay. Underlines the significance of DLT in improving supply chains, the quality of forwarding and tracking, as well as the monitoring of origin and verification of quality of products along the supply chains, protecting consumers and preventing counterfeiters. This is another case of you just need cryptography, dummy. Like, like in what way do you?
No, you need magic. Cryptography is way too detailed, man. You got to speak people's language.
Yeah, there you go, magic.
I'll even give you technology, because some of the brighter ones, if you say technology, they'll be able to track with you that deep. But you say cryptography, and they're trying to think of World War II movies they saw with the Enigma machine and try to figure out how that's related.
No, the proper term is crypto.
You're right.
DLT.
Because then they don't know whether you're talking about cryptocurrency or cryptography. Crypto is the magic.
That's true. You would have to go at least that high level because there's no way they could tell you the difference between those two things. But I really think magic is the sweet spot. I don't think we need to go any more deep than that with these guys.
Secrets are the magic.
And guys, hey, guess what? Guess what? We need to put education on the blockchain. We need to have educational certificates on a DLT, verified accreditation, and credit transfer mechanisms, because that will somehow make that more efficient.
Well, to be fair, I have actually been a participant in that kind of thing because I've taken there is a university, I think it's pronounced Nicosia, but I don't know. It's in Cyprus. And they were the first university ever to accept Bitcoin for tuition. And I have taken their online course twice, mostly just to get the PDFs to read. And I completed all the quizzes. And at the end of it, you get your certificate included in the blockchain. Now, I don't think it's actually in the Bitcoin blockchain. I think they just hash it, and then they hash all of the certificates together, and then they put that in the blockchain.
What do you need the blockchain for? It's cryptography, people. You just have
to verify when it happened.
And then, hey, well, you don't even need that. Like you have the key for something like a university, and you go, I completed this on this date, and they sign it. And that's it. Like, did they sign the thing that said it was that date? You can check the signature on it. You don't need any kind of database to prove that the authority, the institution that educated you, said this person is educated. Like, it's just cryptography. Like,
okay. I'm just saying that there is a functioning application for this being used right now for at least 2 years. So, someone in the troll box said that they made a joke that said cryptography does not exist outside of the blockchain. That's correct. That's correct. Most of the people talking about blockchains today, they had no awareness of the existence of cryptography before now. So it's like cryptography was invented. And the funny part about that is when Zuko Wilcox gave his talk at CCC about Zcash and a bunch of other random shit, he had this list of like technologies. important technologies to the cryptocurrency ecosystem. And the list was completely out of order. It was like blockchain, cryptography, and like a bunch. And a bunch. I should probably bring up the list now because it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. But yeah, he had cryptography on the list like after blockchain. So people probably now have the idea that cryptography came after blockchain. It was invented by Satoshi Nakamoto. But no, actually, in reality, guys, it's been used for thousands of years in various forms.
What? Satoshi Nakamoto didn't invent everything? What? That doesn't make sense. He's a genius. He made Bitcoin and invented every single thing that went into Bitcoin and made it work. How dare you? All right, guys. I think it's time to burn the witch. We need to get the wood pile out and the stakes and get that fire going.
What?
You're gonna burn in hell, Janine. You just blasphemed the great word Satoshi.
No. I will no, I would rather you just try and drown me, and I will laugh as every time you bring the chair back up out of the water.
Okay. And oh my god, this is just so ridiculous.
How much more ridiculous does it get?
Creative Industries and Copyrights underlines that DLT enables the tokenizing of creative content, tracking and managing intellectual property, and protects copyrights and patents. Okay, all right. I might be a little facetious here, but guys, we're doomed. Blockchains can apparently stop you from building things that violate a patent. We're doomed.
Oh,
We're just doomed. Like they are omnipotent things that can reach into the physical reality of this world and stop you from doing things.
Did they get tethered to the MIT like dogbot robot things? What happened?
It sounds like it.
That's actually CSW's current push is, hey, we've bought all these patents. Bitcoin Cash is going to be amazing and nobody's going to be able to touch it because we bought all these patents.
Just, oh my God.
Patents win the day.
Yeah. So Shinobi, I found the slide. I found the slide at Zuko's talk. If you want to try opening that, I think the time code should work.
No.
Try playing it and see what happens. Try playing it and see what happens. It might still be at the time code. But as you can see, the slide right there, that was actually the slide. The default image right there.
Yeah.
Yep, it's that. There's the slide that he used. Basic text behind.
Basic text. He made it like just in a couple seconds.
And I like how he has blockchain 2014 question mark.
That's when we started talking about it, right? Oh my God. He did not.
Oh, you watch the rest of it. So there's I think we've mentioned this before on one of the shows, but there's a part, I think it's like an hour, 12 minutes in or something like that, where he's like, I don't like talking shit about other coins.
Oh.
But Monero does not have good privacy, and it doesn't have security. And they're like, he didn't give any reason or evidence or anything. He just made that statement. He was like shit talking Monero after just saying he doesn't like to shit talk other coins.
And he was like, he was shit talking Bitcoin, talking about Bitcoin Cash is the more development centric coin because they're doing new things and stuff. It's like,
oh no,
he's Monero argument, right?
I don't like to shit talk other coins, but this direct competitor to the coin that I'm getting paid rewards from for the next 2 years is shit. It's just complete shit. It's not as good as my thing.
Right.
Yeah, so here's the best part. He didn't really say that Bitcoin Cash had better development. He said they had a more liberal development strategy.
A more liberal development strategy. But I mean, like, come on, even that Monero's got that hard fork every year policy. I mean, like, that seems more liberal than I'm just saying, like, that presentation, yeah, it was very like I don't know. It looked like it was put together on the plane ride over there. It wasn't very well put together. That's all.
Yeah, he was also calling pretty much every coin except for Zcash a cult. Like he was saying Monero is a cult, Ethereum is a cult, Bitcoin's a cult, like everything's a cult except for Zcash. Even though Zcash had this weird trusted setup ceremony.
Right.
Like that doesn't sound like a culty thing to say, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm not trying to give him too much of a hard of a time, but like it definitely was one of those things where it's like, man, come on, like, dude, you like talk to Satoshi on the mailing list and stuff. And this is the presentation you're giving, and like at this conference, like that was like the most packed presentation too. It's like he was the keynote guy up there. Still felt like
it was so disappointing because it's like there really aren't that many Bitcoin related talks at CCC, and so to have the one talk and see at 30, it was 34C3, to have the one talk be this guy.
yeah.
Yeah, can you put the slide back up? I just have a couple of mocking statements I'd like to make. So one, I gotta give credit to the guys in the troll box. No, cryptography wasn't invented in the 1970s, so that's not right. And then also the 1970s is actually before 2008. I know it's kind of confusing because 70 is a big number and 08 is a small number, but see the numbers on the left, those are more important than the numbers on the right, so you have to sort it that way.
Oh man, he's an eccentric, you know, like he's like,
but I'm sure he's a wonderful developer. Like other than that, I'm sure he's really, really good.
All right.
Oh, yeah,
back to shitting on the European Union instead.
Oh, good God.
Self-sovereign identity, guys. Did you know that a blockchain can help you control your data? Oh, wait, no, it can't. We just went over this. Wait. Are they trying to say that we should use a blockchain instead of cryptography again? I think they're trying to tell us to use a blockchain instead of cryptography again when cryptography would work just fine.
Yeah, it's just like you're saying, it's a complete misunderstanding of like what we're doing, and like JW saying, it's like all these things in the past. It's magic. It's magic.
I think a good summary of all of this is that government officials are smart and competent, and they have your best interests in mind. So you should definitely trust them in areas that you don't understand, right? Like this is an area where they clearly know what they're doing, and we know something about that. But I'm sure they've got medicine down just as well, or maybe even better. So I feel like that's the main message we should take away.
Right. Like don't forget, this is
deep dive, right? Like this is proof.
Yeah, this is a leaked the document from behind the scenes, right? Like this wasn't put forward to like this is this is public message number one. This is like what they're circulating behind the scenes and talking about. So yeah, we can tell like they're talking smart, huh?
Like really quick, like another thing that is completely, utterly retarded on every level about storing general purpose data on a blockchain, even if it's encrypted, is with a normal database that's isolated on a single thing. People usually take security measures to prevent people from accessing it. Yeah, that obviously fails a lot, but when you put data, even encrypted, on a blockchain, it's public. It's out there forever. So hey, guess what? If you lose your password or you lose your private key for your encrypted data in a centralized service, you can go, whoa, wait, delete that. I'm going to redo this with another key if you still have access to it. And there you go. On a blockchain, if you lose your private key, whoops, all your personal information is gone. It's going to get decrypted because it's publicly accessible to everybody.
Does anyone else think that Linus is probably like rolling around sleepless at night, regretting that he didn't name Git blockchain?
Oh, he's probably having seizures. Like he's just.
I should have named it this. Yeah, don't try to explain this to these guys, man. Like, you know, it's kind of crazy how like this is what they're thinking, but you know, whatever. EU Central Bank, I guess this is like they've got a lot of learning to do. So I don't know how much relevance they're going to have in the near future.
Emphasizes that smart contracts are a backbone facility of the DLTs.
Oh my God. This part triggers me, is calling on the commission to explore the technical standards of the International Organization for Standardization. Wait a minute. What do technical standards have to do with making smart contracts legally enforceable? You just pass a law that says a smart contract is legally enforceable. Like, what do the technical standards have to do with that?
I don't even think they know what laws are meant to do anymore.
Just, oh my God.
And I think that's also kind of a fundamental misunderstanding of what smart contracts are, because the whole point of a smart contract is that you're not relying on legal soft enforcement. You're talking about code enforcement. That is automatically done. Like, they don't get how this stuff even works. The whole point is that you don't have a human making the decision. It's executed by code. It's automatic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like all these words.
Oh my God. Like, I can't even really keep going through all this. Like, this is...
Jeez, how many points is there?
A lot.
They're
all stupid.
The efficiency potential for public sector service. What does that even... Is it... I don't get it. What is that?
Do they go into censorship resistance and immutability at all?
Oh, I like the next one. Land registry. That's apparently the only one that's worth exploring from the people that I've talked to. But also licensing and citizen certifications. Oh, so we're going to have national blockchains now, or are other countries going to register other citizens of other countries? That's going to be interesting. So you're going to have distributed ledgers within a country.
What is this sentence between the statements? This is a list of services that don't benefit from a blockchain but with a blockchain. What does that mean? Okay, wait a minute.
You get a blockchain. You get a blockchain. Blockchains for everybody.
I got to calm down a little bit. I think we're translating this. This is a translated document, right? Like, that's where I think we're starting.
That is definitely
a couple of those
definitely
problems.
possible.
It looks like someone's taken like portions of the document out and they're commenting on it, because all of the like middle comments seem to be kind of sarcastic and.
Okay.
But let's just be clear: the stupidity of this document is not in the grammar. That's just fun. The stupidity is in the actual ideas when communicated clearly.
Well, it's in both. Like, let's be clear. It's like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, or a lot of that, and you got a fun document.
Oh my God, 25. Ask the commission to create a strategic plan for building DLT-based infrastructure within and amongst the EU institutions that can be used by the member states as a model for their public sector modernization. What the fuck does that mean? What does that mean?
I like the one. Wait. I like the one before that where it says the IRS is actively pursuing DLT-based tax monitoring, because if someone wants to evade tax, they are definitely going to use the IRS blockchain.
I think what that is they're again suffering from the stupidity of conflating all these different things, and I think they're probably talking about chain analytics. So
yeah, they probably are, but I would not be surprised if the IRS is like, we should make a blockchain. Everyone should start using it, and we can automatically tax you.
If you just think blockchains like wizard wands, it totally falls into place. Like, yes, the IRS should have their wizard wand, and these guys should have their wizard wand, and the DMV needs a wizard wand too. Then it, that at that level of detail, it's totally brilliant.
Oh, I see the word trusted transactional ecosystem. What? Wait a second. I thought the whole point of this is that we minimize trust.
Yeah, somebody needs to go through this and replace all DLT and these word salad plays with like trapdoor, breakaway box, cape, all that crazy stuff. Just like make it really magic.
We need to Harry Potterify this document.
That's it.
That's perfect.
He threw a wand and created a new
Speaking of Harry Potter, did you JW, did you read that economics paper about how the Harry Potter economic situation works in those?
I did a little bit. I actually probably the first I don't know, first third of it.
Yeah, so I find it amazing that in a world where everyone is able to use magic, that they don't have some kind of cryptocurrency. Like, why are they using gold coins?
Well, it was thought up before. When was Harry Potter published? It was before
Like,
2009, right?
Apparently gold is the only thing that they can't like make pop out of thin air.
Why do they need money to have magic? They can literally just magic things.
Why do they have a central? Why do they have a central
there's probably
bank?
3 government officials right now listening to this talk, and I really feel like we're gonna make them have a seizure or something. We're getting too deep. Look, magic is magic. It's good for everybody. Every agent should have their own magic. Let's keep rolling.
Yeah, that's about a good synopsis.
Well, I've never seen inside the Federal Reserve's bank vaults, so I'm going to assume that they have a chained up, very albino blind dragon in there, because they definitely don't have gold.
Sounds right.
The chances of them having a dragon in there are higher than them having gold.
Exactly. The chances of them having a vault, I think there's a better chance they have a dragon than a vault, let alone gold in it.
Hey guys, what stresses that SME? What's an SME? Okay, I'm just going to assume that's another made-up fancy word for a database. Can benefit from disintermediation by reducing transaction costs, intermediation costs, and red tape.
Shinobi, if you read one more sentence of this, I'm going to stick this pencil right through my left eye.
Notes.
Yeah, like, let's just leave this in the dust. This is so stupid. Like, it's in the show notes. Like, if you want to get into how stupid it is, we could spend the next 5 hours talking about it, I'm sure.
Oh my god,
it's bad.
Okay, so I just looked up SME, and and it stands for small and medium
enterprise.
Wait. Yeah, enterprise. So it's like a financial service that's like small or medium in scale. The alternative explanation for that is the Society for Mining, Metallurgy, and Exploration, very related to proof of work, I think. And a French thing that stands for environmental management system. That also sounds related.
You know, I think from now on, when I read government documents, I'm just gonna make up my own like meaning when they use acronyms. I'm just gonna make stuff up.
If they can just make. I mean, if they can just make up DLTs and not know what it means, we can.
Somebody just said it's subject matter expert. That makes sense in context, but
it does.
Wow, that makes more sense than
where does
medium-sized
it say it?
businesses.
Where's the?
We're trying to decipher dog shit. I mean, come on, like.
Wait. Where's the SME part again? Show it.
Oh, it was the removing red tape and efficiency and stuff.
I mean, that sounds like it could fit with enterprises. I don't know.
Hey guys, I think I found the actual like reasoning here.
I just
the union has an
lens on my left eye.
The union has an excellent opportunity to become the global leader in the field of this thing that we don't understand, and magically become a credible actor in shaping its developments and its global.
Just past the optic nerve. I'm getting close to the brain, Shinobi.
You want money? Give us money.
Okay. All right, JW. In interest of saving your other eye, in a much more reasonable context, the CFTC is going to create a virtual currency subcommittee to kind of mull over how they're going to handle things. And in the meanwhile, they're actually urging pretty much users and companies in the space to create some kind of advocacy community or group, and I guess try to self-regulate and come up with standards on things like data retention, record keeping, deal with the potential of things like insider trading. But I mean, so it's breath of fresh air here.
I like how
less
I like
retarded
it.
than the European Union.
I like how one of the tags on the right-hand side there is "fail to ban." What is CUDA? Is it Cuba or
CUDA core, huh? CUDA core mining.
Yeah, that's
maybe
Cuba.
graphics card drivers for
Bitcoin
some
Cash?
more efficient mining.
For NVIDIA.
Cuba Gooden Jr.
But
No, it's definitely good to see, CFTC still like taking a serious approach with these. Like from that Senate hearing we saw the other day or last week or the other week. Yeah, the head of the CFTC was really kind of an all-star, came out of there with a big following in crypto. And yeah, I think it's a smart move. Especially any sort of like guys out there trying to sort of, put some things in place, and as far as just keeping guys like BitConnect from stealing all your grandma's money, and then have random vigilantes on the internet trying to take back justice. So makes sense. It's a good move to see. I mean, like, we know that they talked at the Senate hearing that they already have a darknet working group. So it honestly seems like the CFTC is taking the lead on this thing over the SEC. I guess because it's a commodity more than a security. Interesting. It's good to see.
oh, I'm just glad to see that there is some government agency somewhere that is to any degree less retarded than this European Union Commission. Like it's just to any degree whatsoever.
Yeah, at least like from that Senate hearing, we weren't hearing DLT and blockchains discussed outside of the realm of like what they really are being used for and everything. So yeah, it's with that. I'm gonna just think about that. I'm gonna forget that EU document because like I'm still kind of triggered about it. So like, yeah, that was a good hearing. I live in a country where people kind of understand it. Let's chill out.
Well, I mean, to be fair,
Soothe yourself.
to be fair, the U.S. government has been consulting with Coin Center. The European Union does not have a Coin Center who is able to advise them on how this stuff works. So I'm not going to give too much praise to any portion of the U.S. government, because, especially the CFTC, because Coin Center has been working with them. They're the ones with the expertise, not really anyone at the CFTC or any of these other organizations. So
at least they reached out to them and not the Ethereum crew, right? Like that EU guys, they were consulting with some guys that at least the Coin Center guys, I guess, clued them in a little bit.
I'm pretty sure that European Union document was very heavily shaped by consensus. The conference nonsense group.
Yeah, it's honestly, like, I've heard some like mixed things, and I don't know, like, honestly, like Coin Center, I don't know that much about them, but like I've heard like a couple of positive things from them, and like if the CFTC and SEC, like the head of those guys at the Senate hearing, has anything to reflect as far as what they were educated about from Coin Center, I feel kind of positive about it. But I don't know. I don't have any real ideas about them that much, other than like I've heard a couple positive things, and that hearing did go well. So it seems like they were educated at least a little bit on the fundamentals as far as grasping an understanding of it.
Yeah, so I think Coin Center needs to fork, and some of them need to move to Europe, and they need to create a new organization called Coin Union, and then they can give advice on this.
Yeah,
would not be a bad idea. But in interests of saving JW's other eye, let's give him something to laugh at instead of listening to what governments are doing.
Right.
Guys, Bitcoin is a Ponzi scheme. Governments are going, wait, holy grail? JP Morgan is calling a Bitcoin ETF the Holy Grail? So they want ETFs for Ponzi schemes.
Wait, so they're calling Bitcoin something that, if used by the wrong person, will vaporize them?
I didn't even see that one.
Yeah, they seem to be embracing the magic.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah, pretty
undeniable.
much. Their reasoning is security and kind of the difficulty of managing keys yourself. And obviously, although they didn't state it explicitly, I would add into that the incompetence of a lot of the custodial services that exist right now. The liquidity of the market. I mean, obviously, something a little more institutional friendly would probably result in a lot more liquidity coming into the space. And then integrity, i.e. the kinds of insurance and regulatory protection that an ETF could be bolstered with. And JP Morgan officials state Bitcoin ETF could have a transformational impact on the cryptocurrency.
I seriously, if there's any meme masters watching the show, I want you to take that scene from Indiana Jones where all of those different characters are drinking out of the Holy Grail cup, or the wrong Holy Grail cup, and they all end up getting vaporized. You need to put either the executives of these companies' faces on each of them, or you need to like put their logos on them. That would be hilarious.
I guess you put like weak hands on all the guys that are melting. I don't know. I'm trying to think about it.
It is pretty awesome.
Also,
they were doing nothing but talking trash about it. There was a bunch of buy orders put in, and now it's the Holy Grail. So, I think we've passed the tipping point. Maybe
They blowed it up.
Also, contrary to some Bitcoin maximalist belief that they will live forever, Bitcoin will not make you live forever.
No, that's the only eating steak.
Yeah. The carnivore diet will keep you living forever.
I don't know. Ralph Merkel of Merkel Tree fame thinks you need to freeze yourself and you'll be all right.
Or just pump young blood into you. There's all these crazy life extension things going on.
Better move would be take your entire genome and put it in the blockchain, and then
like, yeah, there you go. Then you get cloned whenever that would work. Yeah.
All right. Are you ready to get triggered by bad grammar, Janine? It's going to be a rough one. Be really.
I've already been triggered by bad grammar so far, so this is going to be really bad, isn't it? Oh God.
So VersaBank in Canada is working on constructing a digital safe vault for private keys. It's all about private keys. Losing a private key means that such digital assets such as bitcoins are lost permanently. We can ask why an entity of such value would be so delicate to stay shielded. The fact is that this system is part of the security on which technology is built. And here's
digital assets attract attention. Oh, do they?
The most wallets have ways of recovering lost keys or regain the access to their wallet when secret keys are lost or neglected. For example, the 12-bit pay backup phrase can be used to restore access when passwords are forgotten. Nevertheless, users are advised to keep it in a safe spot and never share it.
What is that link to? The bit pay backup phrase, which I assume is supposed to be like your seed.
It's a blog post by BitPay about private security.
Perfect. Well done. Well researched and linked. Very nice, guys.
Wait, is that the only reason you included this article? Is because it had such bad sentences?
No, I wanted to kind of like get everybody's take on what the flying fuck they're talking about, because the gist of it is essentially a digital vault is designed by a squad of software engineers led by IT security expert Gurpreet Sahota. I haven't had a chance to look into his qualifications. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt personally for now. But the safe will keep digital data safe on computer servers around the world. As a safety box, the bank will not know what is in her, and VersaBank cannot access the content.
That is definitely my favorite line. Nobody will be able to know what is in her.
No, look, I think I got it, man. I think I don't know why I got it. Maybe I'm just good with bad grammar. But like, whenever I read this story, I got the impression that they were trying to create some sort of like mountain vault for you know, people that I guess are big hodlers with multi-sigs, to where no
That's
single
too
one.
much. You're
Yeah,
giving them too much benefit of the doubt.
I don't know. That's what I got out of it, and I definitely have bad grammar. So maybe like I just sort of read it and I got the gist of it. But I think that's what they were trying to do, is create a mountain vault for like big time hodlers, to where they don't have to worry about getting kidnapped.
You're giving them way too much benefit. I don't know why I got that. Like, they're talking about a digital safe that stores your private keys all over the world, but somehow this is secure. Somehow the bank will not be able to access this, and somehow the security model is different than just securing your private keys yourself, because if they can't access it, it's got to be encrypted. So if it's encrypted and they can't access it, they can't have the encryption key. So how the fuck is this any different than the user just keeping their private keys safe?
When I first read it, I thought, oh, these guys are setting up like basically like a safety deposit box, but maybe the service is set up in some way where they make you do extra authentication or check to make sure that you know, like maybe all your family members are safe before they open the vault or something like that, because they know that the stuff is. So at first I was like, oh, this is cool.
Digital data safe. It's like
it's like, absolutely the most ridiculous idea ever.
They did word it badly, but I think I don't know. Whenever I was thinking about it, I was like, dude, you know what? Like starting to like, it's like a mega hardware wallet, right? It's like you'd have to create like some sort of mountain vault secured by SEAL Team 6 dudes, and like
but it's not
just like with some sort of biometric entry, to, like you're saying, where you have to have a multi-sig with all your family alive and in certain locations or something to unlock. Like the most ridiculous like social hack to try and unlock that wallet. Like I think, you know, I don't know. I was thinking about it last night. I was like, that's a pretty interesting idea, but I don't know how I got that from this. I'd have to go back and reread it.
I think you applied common sense to the problem and did a lot better than the IT security expert Gurpreet. So good job.
Right. Thanks for the idea, guys.
But it's just like, what on earth are they thinking changes anything? Just, you have to keep this key safe instead of that key. It's different somehow.
I don't know. Let's move up to Canada and do it right.
Yeah, it's probably not a bad idea, and probably a pretty lucrative venture.
Hear that, everybody in chat? Let's go do it.
Alrighty. Well, this next one's not really that in depth. I just kind of wanted to point at it and go, ooh, something's happening. But Luno exchange, a Bitcoin exchange from South Africa, has arbitrarily set the goal of 1 billion users by 2025. And really what I kind of wanted to point out here was they have moved from South Africa to, I believe, Singapore. Yeah, Singapore. And they're kind of playing the same move that a lot of other exchanges in the space are right now. Like, they're not just thinking domestically. Like all of these different exchanges and companies are branching out internationally as far as possible and just trying to create those capital inflows from everywhere else. Right. And like, just, I don't know, this is like, how is that side of the ecosystem going to evolve? Like, when this just seems to be the standard play. It's like every exchange out there is scrambling to scoop up as much of the global share as possible, and like not just deal with their own regions. And you know, like JW, like let's say like Ancapistan is what we're moving into. Like, this is like we move into Ancapistan, like governments start falling apart as cryptocurrencies really just start gobbling up the financial world. Like, there is a lot of potential for huge multinational corporations to really just gank the share of the market all over the world.
You've been watching too much Alien and Stanley Kubrick sci-fi, man. That's the only reason the corporations can get this big is that they have government support. It's the crony capitalist system, the corruption that allows companies to basically exist without ever having a fear of losing market share. So the free market's very brutal on anybody, including big, huge, slow incumbents. So that's why they love government to put in regulation that makes it impossible for the little guys to compete. So I think we might have some scary stuff happen in a transitional period. Probably not, but maybe. But that's one of the things I'm not worried about is some huge, massive company, because the only way that they'd be able to exist is to provide good services.
Think about it from this point of view, though, JW. Like all of these companies branching out internationally, like they're collecting data on everybody. Like every one of these companies, all of their users are giving up their private information. Like they're giving up how many Bitcoins they're using. Like these companies are going to be worth a fuck ton just on the basis of how much information they're going to be gathering. And like the bigger all of these get.
Yeah, exactly. Janine just pointed out like something that Murray Rothbard says, that's God forbid we should ever try to live in a world without corrupt governments, because somebody might establish a corrupt government.
But I mean, like that's I think that's a really kind of dangerous. Like that is a huge honeypot that is going to have ramifications for huge sections of the global population, depending on how big these exchanges get before they start getting eaten up by more decentralized exchanges or like face-to-face peer-to-peer services. And like,
no, yeah, I don't want to minimize that part of it. I definitely think it's very dangerous to have, especially if you're a significant holder of Bitcoin, to have that fact stored in a database somewhere that's going to be hacked over the next few years. I think that's a really bad idea.
You know, government propping up big corporations aside, I mean, that is a very valuable, monetizable thing in its own right. Like whether there are governments there to create regulations, propping them up and keeping competition out or not. And I mean, that's something that will stay valuable until those coins have changed hands to such a degree that you're just like looking at a snapshot of the internet from the middle of the 90s. Like it's not really representative of anything anymore. And depending on how strong a lot of people's hands are, like I could see a big chunk of that really like keeping that validity for a long time into the future.
Oh, like you were saying in this, like, why are they doing this? And I think that's just because, like you're saying, it's like the first real successful Bitcoin model as far as like a company, you know, just like do a Bitcoin bank like Coinbase, and you'll get the transaction fees and you'll be in control of all this KYC and data that you could sell. Like, I'm just thinking, like, how long can that really last? Like you're saying, like there's a possibility where eventually it'll just change so many hands that it would be obfuscated. There'd be no point in looking at it. But like, do you think there's a possibility that we'll have a good Tumblr or something like CT come in the meantime to where like, you know, this would really be ruled irrelevant at that point?
I mean, potentially, like, you know, confidential transactions aside, I think the more viable second layer solutions we have for people to actually transact, the more we can start kind of building things like CoinJoin into how those second layers actually interact with the main chain. But I mean, that's kind of a decent amount of complexity, and it's not something we can just charge headlong into. Like that's every step of the way. Like all bases have to be covered on how things can get fucked up, how gain privacy can be undermined. And like, I'm not expecting that progress anytime soon. I mean, I am definitely expecting it in the long term, but I'm not expecting that to just snap and happen right away.
Right. That's what I was just thinking. Like this might be like a 2 to 5 year problem, and maybe it'll be resolved. But you know, I don't know. It's all kind of up in the air and just speculation. But I think it will be resolved eventually with the decentralized exchanges and those sort of possibilities to rule that sort of information. No.
I think each and every person just needs their own DBT, distributed box technology.
Put it in the box, and where's it go? Nobody knows.
As long as you don't know what's in her, Everything's good. It's all good. No, I mean, just I do think that it is a big
my inner box.
That's what I was thinking eventually, but yeah.
No, what I was gonna say is it is a risk to have your information in those sort of databases. Long term, I'm not as worried about it, on some reasonable time frame, because you'll be able to buy insurance against somebody stealing your Bitcoin at some point, and there'll be free market solutions to this problem that are going to pop up pretty quick. But right now, we're at a place where you really can't buy a free market solution to private security or personal defense. You're not in it, it's not really something that's available. You can't buy those sort of insurances, for example. So the market on defense is really, really gimped. And as a result, we're in this weird place where being richer can actually make you more vulnerable, which is not normally how things work, but it is in the current state of affairs. So yeah, keep your personal information out of those databases. Let's ride out this transition, and then we'll be in a much safer, freer world.
Mm-hmm. And I know this show's been quite a long one. Everybody watching, we really only have like 2 more in-depth stories to kind of get through, and I think after that we'll try and breeze through the rest. So I guess I hope you can stick with us, and you want to take us into the follow-up on this MyEtherWallet drama, Janine?
Yeah, so I now have a graphic.
Good graphic.
Good one.
which I just made last night using PicMonkey. Just slapped 2 emoji faces on top of their logos. It was pretty easy. So if this wasn't something that I've actually mentioned on the show before, but I did start doing a new investigation on GitHub using my or at least part of my revision control journalism model, which is revision control using Git. And so I started this investigation on February 14th, which was Valentine's Day. And that's why I used the broken heart emoji for the, if you go to scroll up to the top, I think you'll see it in the description. Oh, no, they don't show it. If you go to like the main repository list, if you click on the main one, it should pop up. Yeah, there, broken heart. So yeah, I did that on purpose. I opened it on Valentine's Day so I could use that emoji and it would make sense. So I have started investigating this because even though as maybe you've heard, the MyEtherWallet account, the account itself was given back to Kosala, I believe on the 15th. It was given back, and then the MyCrypto people created their own account, and so they gave all of the followers back, and they were kind of throwing shade about it because they said they weren't really confident in giving an account back to an inactive participant. So it's like, sorry, but not really. And so I've been the past 3 days or so, I've been filling out this investigation with as much of the up-to-date information as possible. And so one of the updates that I think was probably the most revealing is that Taylor went on the Bitcoin podcast, which I had actually never heard of before this day. Apparently there's another Bitcoin podcast, as if we don't have a lot of those. And one of the things she said on the podcast was she was basically justifying why they had not made an announcement about the account change beforehand. Why was it done without warning? And her explanation was that if she had given an announcement, it would have let the Fishers win. If you scroll down, I kind of transcribed just 2 minutes of it, but lower than that. Down past the GitHub graphics. Past the GitHub graphics. There it is. There. Yeah, so I transcribed part of it, and so you see her, the tone of her voice when she was saying the part about why didn't you give us weeks and weeks of warnings, it was very sarcastic, this is a stupid question when she was saying it. I don't know if that was her intention, but that's how it sounded like to me, why are you asking this? It's not an important question. And she says in the bottom paragraph there that I will say that weeks and weeks of announcements or pre-announcements to the announcements, all it would have done is extend the period of confusion, let the fishers and malicious players in the space get an even bigger toehold, which I find interesting because I actually went through her Reddit history and I found an instance where another service, a group of actual fishers, put out this fake news that MyEtherWallet, this was, I think, last summer, so the mid 2017, I think. And they put out this false statement that MyEtherWallet was rebranding to something else. And that was used as an attack vector. And she's aware of the fact that rebranding without notice is, and especially the risk of, fake news of rebranding is an attack vector. She's aware of this. But she completely, disparaged that argument. The most interesting part, if you go down to the legal dispute, is that actually MyEtherWallet as a company does not exist anymore because she and another, I don't know what his role is, I'm just going to call him a company member. He's the co-creator, Mark Katakowski of Hubsky. It's like this news aggregator service. He was the third company member or manager of the MyEtherWallet LLC. And so on December 29th, she and Mark decided to dissolve the company because they represented more than 50% of the share. I don't know the correct terminology is in the legal document itself, but they represented more than 50% of the company. And so they voted to dissolve the company right in the middle of an investigation into why she was not complying with his request, Kosala's request, to see the financial documents from you. Now, if you scroll down to the very last section, the most interesting part of that is because I kind of want to figure out what would be her reasons for not providing the financial documents. And so again, very easy to find, went through her Reddit history, and I find her one time in June last year, she was arguing with an Ethereum investor on Reddit because this Ethereum investor was telling someone, what was a reasonable amount to put into Ether. And she was warning them, don't be giving investment advice because you might end up being sorry about it because the price might go to zero. And then at one point in the argument, she said she had far more than 100 Ether. So she's, a big holder of Ethereum. And then I believe less than 10 days later, she told another user that she had recently moved the donation funds for MyEtherWallet to her own Trezor for safekeeping. So she was not only the CEO of the company. When they managed to finally get a bank account for the company, they didn't have one before August 2017. When they finally managed to get a bank account, she was the sole holder of that bank account because she used her identification documents to create it. So she was the CEO. She controlled the bank account and she controlled the Ethereum donation address. So she had a significant amount of control in this project. And so when I hear people, because a lot of the people who are coming out to support her are saying, well, clearly she is the better person in this dispute because, all of the people that they employed in the last 6 months are going to work for her instead of staying with Kosala. But it's I'm sorry, if you're working in customer support, you're not making a ton of money. And if you had just joined a company that basically was going to get dissolved soon, and probably you figured out that pretty much everyone else who had been onboarded recently was going to move over to that company because there are literally no financial resources in the present one, MyEtherWallet, why would you stay with the current company? You would basically just be forced to move to the new one. So it's entirely possible that she is she is in the right in this situation. But the claim that people are making that this was obviously, they sided with her because of her morals or her contribution or her personality, that's kind of up for debate because she basically created a situation where now Kosala has no company, he has no finances. And that's just that this all seems very contrived and
Yeah, that's a
And
far
so,
cry from just breaking off. That's like we're shutting down the company, giving you no ability to continue on your own, and then breaking off.
yeah, and so apparently the court date, because they have a court date coming up where, because Kosala is obviously still advocating for access to the financial documents of the company, because the reason he actually wanted to do that was because they had apparently been talking about whether the company would be dissolved. And he was saying, I can't make a decision about that until I see the financial status of the company, because obviously if you're splitting assets, you need to know that. And if he didn't, then he couldn't have made an informed decision. And so they have basically ruined a large chunk of his ability to make an informed decision about that. And so he's still advocating for those documents. The court date, I think, is March 29th. So this is still an ongoing thing. This did not end with the Twitter account being returned. But this, like, I found this super, super interesting for a number of reasons. And that's why I decided to make it one of my newest investigations that I'm working on.
And I read through it, like, and you know, like, once again, like, a really good job on doing this style of journalism, and putting all the links and source material in there, and you know, showing revisions like this. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. And I was just looking up to see like how many users MyEtherWallet has. And I mean, like, we know that that was like the most common ETH wallet. And it's just like a prime example of how, like, just everybody going to one wallet, and like a little simple miscommunication, and, you know, and then you have these problems for all your users out there, which yeah, it's just a prime example of like why you need different wallets and different implementations, and as many people as possible working on it that are all in consensus, because a slight mishap and you have these sort of problems. So, like, good job on reporting it.
Yeah, and I also want to point, because one of the things she also said in the podcast that she went on, she mentioned the fact that, I don't know if she saw my tweet. I did use the word emotional in my tweet, but I don't know if she saw mine. But I guess there was a lot of people on Twitter calling her an emotional woman. So she said, all these people are calling me an emotional woman. It's like, do you realize what kind of language you're using? And it's like, I know what language I'm using, Taylor, because, Shinobi, if you can actually go to the tweet where she tweeted out paragraphs describing her emotional attachment, exact words, emotional attachment to the MyEtherWallet account. It was not my words. I did not make it up. I said, specifically the tweet that I made, which I have no idea if she saw, but I specifically said that people's money should, and yes, this is a wallet that they do not control your funds, but still, if people are scared about the status of their funds based on something, a decision you made, based on an emotional decision that you made, then that's, you know, that should not be happening. And then, yeah, it's an archive link, so the text at the top might not show up.
No.
It should be the top one. It should be the actual tweet that they made. The text should show up.
Dun,
Uh-oh.
dun.
Oh, it's loading. I can see it loading. It's loading other images, so it might take a while.
Either which way, it does, like, it's an example of a bigger problem I've seen in the space, as far as like one person says something and then all of a sudden it's everyone.
There.
And there's
There
like
you
a
go.
huge group.
There.
Yeah.
So if you see in the second paragraph, she says, I treated the Mew Twitter as my personal Twitter since day one, as much as I tried to let my emotional attachments to the Mew brand go as we were working through this whole transition. I have had daily personal conversations with people via Mew's Twitter. So she used the word emotional. I just copied the word that she used. So it had nothing to do with the fact that she was a woman. It was the fact that she clearly stated that her decision, at least part of it, was based on emotional grounds. So that's why I had it in my tweet.
No, Janine, that's sexist. I'm sorry.
And how dare you link evidence?
You're a sexist.
I'm not allowed to use other people's words. No.
No, that's sexist. It's clearly sexist. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah, because I'm not also a woman who recognizes that I am prone to making emotional decisions, and that that is whatever.
Now you're just being self-sexist. Like, Jesus. Jesus.
No, well, men are also prone to making emotional decisions. It has nothing to do with their gender. Emotion is that, in fact, the assumption that emotion is automatically tied to being female is sexist. Shinobi.
Fubar in the chat. It's called cultural appropriation when you use other people's words.
Yes, the female culture.
Be true to yourself, and to your own self be true.
Okay.
Be inner. Be inner.
Be your inner.
All right. Let's try to plow through this next one. It's
not to be confused with an innie, which is something to do with belly buttons.
I think we're all getting punch drunk at this point.
Okay. All right, I'm pushing us into the next story, guys. So for those of you who have not been following Ethereum lately, they have for the past 2 weeks or so been mulling over an Ethereum improvement proposal to standardize Ethereum recovery proposals in lieu of the oops, I accidentally killed it incident with DevOps, which pretty much destroyed all parity multi-sig wallets on Ethereum. And yeah, I mean, just for a second, let's digest this here. People are literally trying to push through a protocol improvement proposal to standardize the process of altering the protocol to give people their money back when they fuck something up.
So it's like an automatic bailout function.
Yes, a bailout, a protocol and process for bailouts is a standard thing because obviously they're going to have to be a standard thing if you use Ethereum. It's completely broken.
You see, whenever people say, I always hear like fundamental flaws with Ethereum. I think this is what we're talking about. Just like a basic misunderstanding of everything.
Just a basic misunderstanding. That's so well said. Just a basic misunderstanding of everything.
But I mean, my question is how are they going to like have people prove how they or whether they own such and such funds? Like how do they do that?
Well, that's part of what has my head spinning in circles. Like, it's who decides? Like who decides what constitutes a legitimate loss of funds? You cannot automate this. You cannot build this into the protocol. Human beings have to sit there and make a subjective judgment call on whether the protocol should be altered or not to give people their money back.
And I'm just like immediately thinking about how easy it would be to just launch an ICO, hack the damn thing, bail yourself out, repeat, rinse, do it over and over and over.
Yeah, because I mean, it's like, where does anybody else think this is going? I mean, do you think this is going to stop at smart contracts failing and making money inaccessible? Like, this implicitly requires human beings to be put in control of this decision.
I like how this guy's like, this EIP puts more work on the EIP editor's shoulders. So if I may, how can I, as an editor, put myself out of a bribable position? It's like, he's like, okay, this is not power that I want. Can you please not give it to me?
Right.
I wonder how many of the other ones are saying that.
Mm-hmm. And then the rationalization is that's true of any EIP.
I think the best part about this, it reminds me of when Ron Paul said he didn't even have to read the bills that came through Congress. He could just look at the title, invert them, and know exactly what it was about. So if it was about like the Patriot Act, he knew that freedoms were going to be utterly destroyed, right? Just based on the title. I think Ethereum improvement proposal is perfect. We can apply that same line of reasoning to anything Ethereum does. Just whatever they say they're trying to do, just reverse it, and you don't even have to read the story.
Right.
You know what my favorite part of this whole, like, because obviously Bitcoin improvement proposal started this whole thing of using, letter IP, like improvement proposal. I love the fact that if you applied it to Ripple, it would be RIP.
That's hilarious.
Rest in peace.
I wish.
Here's another pertinent question, though. How are the EIP editors chosen? People or organizations that have a demonstrable history within the Ethereum community.
I was just about to say, I imagine somebody with the Ethereum Foundation.
What's a demonstrable history?
I don't know. It sounds to me like yet another instance of human beings that have to make subjective judgment calls.
Are they talking about a proof of work?
Exactly.
This whole thing is like just a ridiculous, like it's ridiculous. Like what is like literally if they do this, if this becomes a standardized thing where there is a governing body of people deciding whether or not to undermine balance updates like facilitated by the protocol, what's the point of the blockchain? What is the point of anything but just having a database that group of people is in control of?
That's exactly what they've said they want to do, right? They don't want to focus on use cases that require immutability. They want to just focus on the other stuff. I don't know what that other stuff is, but that's what they want to focus on.
Well, yeah, as far as I can tell, Vitalik is already in favor of this because I saw a tweet from him that said he thinks that I don't think he called them bailouts. I can't remember the term, but he was like being able to reverse transactions to recover people's funds is an okay thing to do in a young blockchain. I think he used the term young blockchain, which was hilarious because of, yes, Ethereum compared to Bitcoin is definitely a young blockchain. It's what now, 2 years, not even 2 years old yet. No, wait, 3? When did it start? I can't actually. 2015. Yeah, 3 years. So yeah. Ethereum, I don't know if you want to be making those kinds of decisions early on because see, the way things work is that what you do in the early days sets a precedent for what you're going to do later on. So the fact that you're young does not give you an excuse to make these kinds of like future altering decisions.
Yeah, and here's the EIP editor. First statement, the authors are still looking for a certain class of people who can make judgments. They are looking for authorities. This proposal dictates that the authorities' judgments to be implemented in Ethereum clients. Currently, right now, how this process works is EIPs are proposed, and it's left to the individual client maintainers whether they actually integrate them or not. And he spells this out perfectly. This EIP is looking to completely invert that. They are looking to put this EIP proposal and the individuals in control of it in the decision-making process here. They're trying to take something that right now, to a degree, I have to admit, to give them credit, is a voluntary thing on part of the software developers actually maintaining the clients to something dictated to them by this certain class of people, this authority. And to kind of cut to the gist of it, we've had an EIP editor resign over this. And pretty much his rationale is this is completely against the philosophy and spirit of Ethereum in his mind. And one of the reasons that he ended up walking away is digging through and researching potential consequences of this. He found a Japanese penal code. Beginning part removed, unlawfully creates without due authorization an electromagnetic record which is for use in such improper administration. And he pretty much just started getting ridiculously stressed out, had trouble sleeping, wondering, what does this mean? How would this be interpreted? What constitutes improper administration of an electromagnetic record? And he ended up pretty much resigning over this because he did not want to take the risk of putting himself in this position of authority where he could potentially be held legally accountable, because this is a global project. Every jurisdiction in the world that this system is used in can apply their legal system to the people maintaining it if they choose to try to do so. And I mean, Like this is literally like, what is the point of Ethereum if they do this? Why not just get rid of the smart contracts, get rid of the blockchain, get rid of the proof of work, stop thinking about proof of stake? You just create this board of people and put them in control of a database. Like, like this is seriously like this is ridiculous. Like, as much as I like to shit on Ethereum, as much as I think the entire project is fundamentally broken and pretty much just a giant laughingstock in the cryptocurrency ecosystem, like, even I didn't think that they would actually like try to push this, actually try to make this a thing where they create some authority or group of people who will just arbitrarily decide when to undermine the protocol in terms of what people's balances are.
Yeah, if you want to show the next Szabo tweet, because I believe this is what he was responding to. He didn't reference it directly, but it was made on the same day, so I assume that's what he was doing. I'm also trying to find, because I think that this is all related to this recent push to, like, within the last few months, to figure out whether core developers are, like, what kind of legal, how legally vulnerable they are. And I saw a tweet from Fake Satoshi yesterday where he said,
actually, really quick, you want to read out the Szabo tweet? So I'm still trying to like push out the podcast versions on a little delay.
Yeah, so Szabo tweeted that security has a concept called attack surface. The more kinds of exposures, the greater the attack surface. Similarly, we can think of governance as having an argument surface. The more kinds of decisions there are to argue over, the less functional the institution will be, which I'm pretty sure he was directing this at the Ethereum Foundation as an institution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then there was a tweet from Craig Wright. Someone asked him, because obviously, you know, he's being his regular patent troll self, and he's kind of threatening that the 200 patents that he has successfully obtained in the last few years will be a problem for Bitcoin Core as a, you know, group of developers working on Bitcoin software. And someone asked him who would be held accountable if someone were to litigate a patent claim against them. And his response was all core members. First of all, there are no members. It's just a bunch of people committing code. There's not really a membership. But he says all core members.
So if I fix a typo in a comment, I can be sued?
Yeah. His full response was all core members. It is a loose confederation, but the law would treat it as a partnership. All members, not like a company where you resolve liability. That is why companies exist. Foundations even all fall together. So that was kind of interesting. He was saying that the purpose of companies is that when they get sued, they all go down at once. That doesn't seem like a very positive view of a company, in my opinion. Shinobi, are you blocked by him, or would you be able to show this tweet?
Yeah, but I can open an incognito window.
Okay.
Christopher Allen's response was perfect to CSW saying that. He basically said, I've been working on this stuff since way back in the DigiCash days, and I have tons and tons of prior art that's going to make anything that you pretend to be a valid patent a joke. So,
the thing that I find funny, I don't think he meant, there was someone who replied directly to the tweet saying, do you qualify as a core member if you are the author of a merged pull request, or is opening an issue already sufficient? What I think is even more interesting as a question is that if this guy still thinks that he's Satoshi, doesn't that make him like the primary person?
That's why he has to have plausible deniability. That's why he set up the thing and cryptographically proved to be a fraud, so that we would know that he was really Satoshi.
Yeah, because basically, I mean, part of the litigation, I assume, would be people who had actually contributed code. Does that make you a member? If so, then wouldn't Satoshi be the subject of your patent litigation? Like, I don't understand. This is not how open source works.
Failure to understand open source.
Actually, I'm going to try to dig up that response from Christopher Allen real quick.
I think it may have been a retweet, actually. I was just looking for it.
Yeah, I just found it.
Oh, nice job.
I've been involved in cryptocurrencies since DigiCash in the late 80s. I suspect that all these patents that bitch could use to black BTC would have prior art or be considered obvious to a practitioner in the field. I and others have been collecting such prior art for years.
Exactly. It's like, we know you just showed up to this party that's been going on for 30 or 40 years, but good luck trying to pretend that that any of your inventions and or purchase patents predate the work that we've been doing for far longer.
Speaking of bitch, that just reminded me of all the pictures that have been shared in the last day or so on social media from Anarcho-Poco. Can't say
I
that
think you're
word
going to
properly.
find everybody else here a little less disappointed about this thing.
Well, I mean, come on. Can you not at least be disappointed for the fact that
I'm very disappointed.
Pathetic. It's pretty damn pathetic. It's like really pathetic. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I don't know. It's like, yeah, it's pretty please give them the eyes.
Okay,
It's pretty
guys,
good.
I
here's
renounce Bitcoin. I am all in Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin Cash is the true vision of Satoshi.
Because, like, yeah, any nerd's gonna love some half-naked girl. Like, she's so, like, I mean, come on. Like, I'm not saying
what we're looking at here
but I mean,
Bitcoin.com had a booth. Yeah, Bitcoin.com had a booth at Anarcho-Poco, and they have a boob bath or a babe booth.
Yeah, it's just
booth babe. There we go.
That's
they have
right.
a booth babe. That's just the
BHS, please. She got that bitch please on her.
Yeah.
On her tits.
It's yeah.
So
exactly.
yeah, I just want to point out the reason I'm disappointed in this photo is not because there is a half-naked woman. I'm disappointed because the bitch please on her chest is clearly it's not a real tattoo. They clearly just spray painted on like before she went out to this thing. Like if she was a really dedicated Bitcoin Cash person, she would have actually tattooed those words on her chest.
Well, I'm sorry. Like, my disappointment is just in any nerd that's like, she's super psyched about, like, you know, just some booth babe. Like, I mean, like, yeah, it's a interesting little like peripheral externality of being like, oh yeah, you know, they're trying to jazz it up. But yeah, it's jazzing it up in a way where it's like, who are you really appealing to? Because these cryptocurrency conferences, you know, like just a couple of years ago, you could only find like 15 people at one, and they were all discussing the technicals. And now it's like, yeah, it's gotten so out of pumpy hand where it's just like, look at this girl's tits. It's got BCH on it. Go buy them. Come on, guys.
Yeah, it really is that low brow and just goofy.
Wait. I have one more. I have one more booth babe picture. Just a second. Let me get it. It's not what you're expecting.
Yeah, the booth babe thing is great because it's just it's the lowest of the low moves for a technology company. Like that's the last thing that you would ever think would work just before you close the doors. And if you ever go to a technology company, you can instantly know who is just trying to like get investor money from stupid people because there's, you know, really attractive women in the booth versus the guys that look like Nick Szabo, you know, in the other booth. That's where you want to put your money. But, you know, you can talk to the booth babes if you have to, I guess.
See, this is the kind of booth babe, this is the kind of booth babe that I actually wanted to see, but this booth babe is now extinct.
This is a picture of Roger Ver in front of a Gore 2000 poster at presumably some kind of political rally or conference, and it's just like, it's classic. It's like the photo that gets shown in the documentary when we all find out that he was some kind of nefarious creature.
Doesn't it look like he kind of snuck into the Gore Democratic Party just to be like, I got a new political party, like you know, I'm with you guys, but here's the new political party, we're gonna do this thing, like
Yeah, so just to, because a lot of people were assuming that he, like Mr. Hoddle wasn't sure if he was a Gore supporter, but you can clearly see he's holding up the pamphlet. It says new political party, and it's the Libertarian Party in small print at the bottom of it. So he is not part of the Gore campaign, at least in this photo. We don't know what he was doing before.
I mean, like, because until it's clear, you're in a Democratic Party headquarters and you're holding the Libertarian Party pamphlet. I mean, like, yeah, it looks, I don't know, his intention there. It looks like he wanted to go in and convert some people. Like, I don't know, working your way through systems and I don't know. It looks like he's been doing this for a long time.
Sorry for cutting you off, Rick, but Blake, you're a coward for only hanging out in the chat today. But yes, he looks exactly like the cable guy.
Well, no, it does show that he has been trying to be a politician since he was a really young guy, right? And politicians, the whole point of a politician, whether it's the Libertarian Party or the Democratic Party, is to get power over other people. And if you don't want power over other people, you go into the private sector, right? You do other things. So his attraction to power goes way back, I think, is the only thing that's relevant there.
Well, I mean, we have another one. What I'm interested to know is where are people? Oh, you posted the same one, Rick. I think. I don't know. I would love to know where people found these photos, because they all just appeared today, and I'm like, who found these? They're like all these old photos.
It's a secret, and it will stay safe.
Oh, what? Oh, that's what you were saying. When you said it was a secret, I was like, what are you talking about, Shinobi? What's the secret?
I kind of feel bad about this one, just because, like, it does, like, I don't know, it kind of feels a little bit like we're digging it too far back into a person's past and holding it against them. But, like, yeah, it does. I don't know. It does show that he's had political ambitions for a long, long time now.
Well, I mean
like,
that looks like he's selling a car. Isn't he selling a car?
Well, that's where it's like, I'm saying, like, if he was selling a car back in the day, I don't want to hold that against him.
Because that's not new information. Like the fact that he was a car salesman is not new information. I think he's talked about that before. I'm just wondering where these old photos came from.
Well, just really quick, Rick, to get into like the picking on Roger thing. Like there is a fine line between baseless ad hominem and something that actually constitutes an argument. When you try to engage with somebody and actually make an abstract reasoned argument against their abstract reasoned argument, and they repetitively, time after time after time, refuse to do so, are manipulative, misframe things, twist your words out of context, outright ignore things that are objectively true, after a point, that ad hominem ceases being a baseless attack, and it becomes a valid argument to point out when somebody is not engaging in a reasoned, logical way using debate or dialogue. After a point, when you fail to do that repetitively, that is a valid argument. You are a disingenuous person. You are not engaging in a logical manner. And that line is blurry, but Roger Ver clearly crossed that line a long time ago.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Like, it's definitely at some level you do kind of have to show a person's intention if it does require sort of digging up some past. And like you're saying, I don't know. It's nothing too bad or nothing. It's just a couple of pictures. It's not really anything more than just
yeah, it really just shows that he was a politician a long time back.
Right.
And I think it is kind of, I mean, in that sense, it's relevant to know about, because he's constantly claiming to be an ANCAP and constantly talking about how government's bad. But, the guy was trying to get a hold of those reins of government power for quite a while. And I don't know if he's ever, said that was a mistake. And given that inconsistency, I think it's worth
I don't know. I don't think there's anything necessarily. I mean, it just kind of shows that he came from a much humbler origin. I mean, he was selling a car in a trailer park. But I mean, I don't think you'll find any person who at one point, especially when they were younger, wasn't like like, oh yeah, Libertarian Party or this and this party, this will work. And then they eventually figured out. Like, I wouldn't hold that against him.
No, I wouldn't either. I just don't think he's come out and said that that was a mistake, that he shouldn't have been trying to do that. It was a bad strategy to try to end government oppression by becoming the oppressor. But
yeah, if anything, I think it just sort of reinforces that, like, his wanting to start a country, you know.
Right, exactly. I mean, that's another inconsistency with the whole ANCAP cypherpunk movement is we're gonna create this defenseless country, but everything will be fine. Why didn't we just do that a long time ago? Why do we even need Bitcoin?
Yeah. So my last comment on the whole anarcho-polko situation is that, you know, if you want to, because all these people are talking about we need to get more women into Bitcoin. So the solution to that is to have, you know, male booth babes, obviously, because apparently that's what brings all these men into it. So in order to get more women, we have to have male booth babes.
The women
Let's not be silly. The male form is disgusting.
They've been here. It's a delusional bubble world you live in if you think they're at women. And to be a little crass in a minute, I mean, like, there are some very attractive women on Twitter right now that are hardcore crypto trading.
That's true.
Like, so we have moved past just women in general to the women that nerds want to fawn over constantly. It's already happened. They're here.
Oh, come on. You don't
step towards that.
I don't think Bitcoin or cryptocurrency has a monopoly on that. I think there's plenty more to come if that's your goal, I guess. I was mostly making a joke about male. I'm not, seriously, if the conferences, I have never been to a Bitcoin conference that had this kind of shit going on. The conferences who can afford to hire models to stand out there with no clothes on to market a coin, like, they might as well not be running a conference. Like, the conferences that I go to don't use their resources that fallaciously. So if you're a conference that is going to do this, you can guarantee that I'm not going to show up. And if I find out too late that this is something that is going on at the conference, then I will immediately leave. I don't care what I paid for the ticket. I'm not going to an event where this is happening, because I don't think that this is, because the problem is that this kind of thing is going to get reflected back on Bitcoin, even though it was a Bitcoin Cash thing, because you see bitcoin.com. It's not bitcoincash.com, it's bitcoin.com. So it's going to be the same situation that happened with the Bitcoin conference that was actually a Dash conference in Miami. You're going to have all these people writing articles about how the Bitcoin space is sexist because it's using strippers at their after parties, when it turns out it's actually all of these other cryptocurrencies that are investing most of their money into marketing instead of code. Like, but Bitcoin is going to get the fallout from that because Bitcoin is obviously the main target. No one cares if a Dash conference hired strippers. They only care about the Bitcoin conference hiring strippers. So they're going to use that in all of the articles. That's what pisses me off.
I'm like, I know that was kind of a joke about Chippendale guys being at a Bitcoin booth, but I think Fluffy Pony and the Monero Enterprise Alliance ought to think about that the next time there's like a booth and everybody's claiming to be gender neutral. You better have a girl on one side and a Chippendale dude on the other. I want to see that, Fluffy. That'd be a great picture.
Song dancing now. What? Right now. Dude, you want to fucking market Monero? There you go. Right now. It'll fucking skyrocket
Monero all over your body.
Damn it. If he does that, I would have to probably buy some Monero.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh man. All right. So
we broke the record.
Sorry guys, painful. It's been a long time. I think we're gonna try and power through a little quicker, but apparently we're still keeping most of your attention. Litecoin Cash, the one true Litecoin. You've been hearing about it for a long time, guys. It's about to become reality.
Oh boy, here we go.
Yep. So they're multiplying coins by a factor of 10, switching to SHA-256. And as is traditional at this point, they are taking 1% in a pre-mine.
Kudos, Litecoin, on your first crypto, quote unquote, dividend. Good job.
Yeah, this I have a little suspicion about. Like I really do. I really think there is a potential here that we're going to see a lot of shitcoin forks, a lot of altcoins launched with SHA-256, and then an attempt to start pushing them as merge mined coins, because that will effectively start offering more revenue for miners and potentially in the long term really start to be an exacerbant for mining centralization. And yeah.
Yeah, that's been a debate, heated debate on Twitter recently. And like just hearing that, it's kind of like, oof, this isn't good.
Yeah, I don't know though. I mean, on the other hand, we just got to let this thing work itself out. Like we need to have so many shit coins out there that it's just too expensive to market them, and then they'll go away, I think.
Yeah, I think that will play out eventually to where these things won't really be that relevant, but or gain enough hash power or value to where it should eventually play out the way that it's been discussed. So I don't know. Hopefully, it'll kind of just come and go.
Mm-hmm. And in the interest of allowing us to get some food in our tummy, I'm going to rapid fire the next two stories. So Spain is looking to create tax incentives for crypto companies to move to Spain. And they're actually packaging this together with a plan to kind of do this with multiple new technologies. Yeah, so pretty much they're kind of stepping off on their own in doing this and trying to incentivize tax breaks, potentially a threshold below which you don't have to pay taxes on cryptocurrency, kind of similar to the $600 spending bill that's still kind of in limbo in the U.S. Congress, and a safe framework for ICOs. And to plow on real quick, this is in stark contrast to, excuse me real quick while I cough, Iceland, which is crunching numbers and looking at a projected growth in mining there that would put mining energy consumption at more than is being used to power houses. And like, I kind of don't understand what their problem is with this, because Iceland is mostly renewable energies. It's not like this increase in energy consumption is causing like exacerbated environmental consequences or pollution or anything like that. Like it's all renewable. It's all geothermal. It's all like things that don't really have huge collateral damage to the environment. And
right,
they're pretty much talking about adding a tax for mining revenue. And I really think that this is going to blow up in their face if they kind of move forward with this. Because if you really think about it, like they're paying for electricity. So unless they've worked out some deal in which like nobody is paying taxes on any of the electricity they're consuming, like what is like you're getting some tax revenue out of it. And when you start moving to tax their profit, like that's really going to start fucking with something that in a lot of cases has kind of thin margins or is going to trend towards very thin margins in the long term. And I think this is a quick recipe to chase miners out of the country if you really look at it objectively in the longer term. Like whatchamacallit, there's one energy company that is expecting the energy consumption to double to around 100 megawatts. And as we're going to see in the next story, like it's not really that insane for a mining operation in net as far as everything in the country. And it's like, I've said like a couple times over the past few weeks, like I really think that this is like cryptocurrency, Bitcoin in specific, is really going to start disintegrating and causing dissension in the European Union. Like we've seen today the laughable joke of the EU looking at distributed ledger technologies Spain now is looking to actually incentivize cryptocurrency businesses to move to Spain. And now we have Iceland, which is already a very big focal point for mining farms, is doing something that is probably going to chase that business away. And it just seems like all across Europe, everybody is on a different page, trying to do a different thing, like looking for different ways to see a gain or limit, like whether they're true or not, perceived negative externalities that come along with this. And it's just like everybody's running off in a different direction. And I don't really see how that's going to reconcile itself into a coherent game plan across all of Europe anytime soon.
Yeah, just a quick comment I had on this story was like in there was a line that said the Pirate Party is skeptical of Bitcoin after the 2008 banking crash. And I thought the Pirate Party was supposed to be some of the guys that were in the lead of this and understanding it and trying to find ways around another crisis like that. If you're in Iceland, look up this guy, MP Smari McCarthy, and go stand outside his office and throw a tomato at him when he steps outside. No, don't throw a tomato at him. Just like definitely like this guy needs to be kind of like thrown out of that party. I don't know what's going on with that Icelandic pirate party, but I was really all jazzed up about it. But to hear this guy say this crap, I don't know. Get that guy out of there.
Mm-hmm. And then kind of a quick update. Something we covered a little while ago, a number of power plants in Siberia looking to attract miners actually are having a little bit of success. So a number of different power plants in the few thousands of megawatts for net capacity, and a few smaller ones with a few hundred. But this is kind of moving past the point of just trying, and apparently they're in active negotiations with a couple of different investors. In the article, explicitly Chinese and American miners that are looking to establish mining farms right next to the power plants. And like, for anybody who doesn't really know how delivering power works, obviously the longer the lines you have to push it through, you're losing electricity the whole way. So building farms literally right next to things, like you're going to get a lot more usable energy for mining farms. And I think kind of what they're trying to do here at this point is capture a large share of hash rate from China that's kind of through the slow incentivized exodus right now with how China is clamping down tighter and tighter. And I think personally, this is going to be a very successful play on their part, because geographically being pretty close, you can kind of minimize the shipping and transport costs to move your hash rate there and kind of limit like how much money you're paying to actually move your operation. And for the most part, like obviously Siberia is not really that heavily populated. So if this does become a very profitable venture and start attracting a lot of miners, I mean, I don't see any reason why over the next 5 or 10 years we might not see power plants being specifically constructed in the region just to start increasing the mining capacity. And yeah, good news for mining decentralization. And to jump along in the interest of filling our tummies, a little bit of annoying news. This Z.com cloud mining is part of the GMO venture into mining operations. And sadly, in my opinion, they're going to be supporting both Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash for their mining customers. And they're kind of limiting right now how many contracts they're actually going to be accepting, potentially 8 per month, and are going to start accepting contracts at the start of March after the end of this month. And it's not really something that looks like it's targeted towards your end consumer, with a rental fee around $5 million US, with an upfront payment for a 2-year rental contract. So not really sure how I personally feel about this one. I mean, kind of give you a little a little prod, JW. I think at the kind of scale they're looking at here, something like your idea of meld mining you kind of been playing with would probably be a good thing to try to implement with something like this, because you're not talking about just throwing like $500 at a little cloud mining contract and playing around to see if you can get profitable results. Like, this is something that requires sinking millions of dollars up front for a time span of multiple years in contract terms.
Yeah, totally. So just to give everybody a brief overview, the idea is basically that you publish any blocks that you attempt to mine. So whether they're successful or failed, you publish them. And when you mine them with the address, the Bitcoin address of the person that's paid. So you could do $5 worth of mining, publish $5 worth of attempted blocks, and that person could be confident that that their money was spent to try to get them a Bitcoin block. Or a block reward. So yeah, thanks, man. I making some progress on it, trying to hack together some mining pool software right now that will do that. And I'll keep you guys posted.
Mm-hmm. Maybe sometime this week we can go over it a little bit on the show. I actually think it's a huge improvement security wise and auditability wise for anybody actually cloud mining. You get a little bit more of a guarantee than a promise that hash rate's actually being used to try to earn the money for you.
Yeah, totally. Yep, that'd be fun.
And then last thing, I just thought this would be a neat little thing to show, because a week or so ago, I went through the graphic showing, I think it was like 6 months old, prices for producing a Bitcoin in terms of mining. And this is actually something that does this on a global scale. Right here, if you look at the 15 most expensive countries to mine Bitcoin in the Cook Islands in the Pacific, it's $15,000. So you're at a loss. In the Turks and Caicos Islands in the down near the Bahamas, it's $14,000. Belgium, $13,000. In Germany, $14,000. Denmark, also 14. Bahrain near Saudi Arabia, $16,000. Solomon Islands, $16,000. And the most expensive is South Korea. It would cost $26,000. And to remind everybody, this is based off just average electricity rates and not any special deals, large operations, but $26,000. That's more than twice the market price right now to actually mine a Bitcoin as opposed to purchasing it in South Korea. So we can already see right now that in a large chunk of the world, it is completely unprofitable to start mining Bitcoin. Like if you purchase a miner and plug that in any of these areas, you are pretty much batshit insane. And then on the other side of things, in the cheapest area, in Venezuela, it costs $531 to mine a Bitcoin. So real quick there, I want to ask, what the flying fuck is Venezuela thinking with this entire Petro project when it's literally the cheapest place to mine Bitcoin? Like, you can literally mine.
I think it's only cheap because the government's subsidizing it, and that's what that doesn't work.
And they're subsidizing it because they're stealing the mines.
Right. Good point.
Well, yeah,
Good
but
point.
like if they're already like if it's that subsidized, like fuck it, it's subsidized. Like, do that. You could literally collect like 50% or more of the Bitcoin people are mining, and the miner doing it would still be rolling in money. Like, the Venezuelan government is retarded.
Well, the right way to do that is to make sure nobody else does it and then do it yourself. So that's probably exactly what they're doing. They're probably confiscating any mines that they can get a hold of, so they don't have to buy them, firing them up, and trying to keep the competition out. So.
Right. Like, I know that story said that like they were honing in on Bitcoin mines because it was a lot easier to track on the electrical grid, and the people that were mining cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin over there switched to Ethereum and other graphics card, miners because of that problem right there.
And in Ethiopia, it's $2,800. In Kosovo, 3,000. Trinidad and Tobago in South America, $1,190. Kuwait, 1,900. Saudi Arabia, 3,000. Ukraine, 1,800. Like there are a lot of places where it is still pretty damn profitable to start mining. And I expect that we're going to start seeing more and more mining operations pile into places like this over time. But I mean, like I said, I just thought this was a kind of a neat contrast to show everybody that in the long term, you're going to see mining flock around from wherever it's at now, chasing the cheapest electricity prices. And on a long-term time horizon, as long as we get through things without serious attacks, I think mining decentralization will pretty much work itself out in the long term.
Yeah, I think that's a great, like you're saying, it's a great visualization to show how, it doesn't really matter whenever somebody tries to shut down all these mines, they're definitely going to move around. And, we see the competition. Like right now, Quebec says they got hundreds of miners moving over there because of their favorable regulations and cheap electricity, renewable energy. And, we're seeing these kind of turn moves with Iceland, its pirate party. So I definitely think the whole miner centralization issue is, it's over. I think it was kind of just, it's really just sweated about. And I don't know if it was really ever an issue. But certainly not anymore.
All right. So this is, I think, one of our longest episodes ever. Anybody got any thoughts still rattling around their heads?
Yeah, just a final thought from that past story. I'm going to try and retire in Trinidad. Just looking it up. I don't know how that place is. I'm going to look some more into it. But it's got some beaches, man, and it's got some cheap mining. So, I don't know. Nice little place to check out. At least from the peripheral.
Janine, JW, anything left in there?
Yeah, just oh man, I'm kind of fried, but I do think that tweet that I just put in the box, if you pop it up, pretty much sums up why I'm glad I didn't go to Anarchapulco.
Hey guys, Pink Date ICO coin, where you can pay for your hookers in this cheap. These guys apparently never heard of Backpage yet, or the fact that people have been using Bitcoin for this for years.
Right. There's a crypto for it, but now we need a token. And wow, man, I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's like, what's legal in this friggin' country anymore? You sell flamethrowers over Twitter because you're Elon Musk, or you can just start, ICO on prostitution and escort service, even though it's not legal across the board. Crazy.
All right. Well, I guess my last thought for the day is pay attention to this Ethereum proposal, guys, because if this actually goes through, that project is broken. It has failed. It is literally entirely pointless. They might as well just call it a day, start a bank with a database, and be done with things. And I hope that everybody watching is in the cryptocurrency space for something more than just bootstrapping another bank with a select group of people in charge of it, because I know I sure am.
Hey, just one more quick final thought about that. It's I want to appreciate everybody sticking with us through this whole thing. That's really impressive. And, I know that some people have said, can't believe this thing doesn't have more subscribers or more this or whatever. Use that as evidence to sort of show how, the space is still really small when it comes to people that care about the important factors in this. Thanks for sticking around, folks.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. It really gives me hope that this space isn't just going to implode on itself, that you guys stuck with for this whole thing and are actually looking around for real information to actually try to understand and make your own decisions in this space, not just blindly follow people. So I guess on that note, if nobody else has anything to say, you can like if you liked it, you can subscribe if you want more, and I guess we'll see you guys next time. But I think all of us need to get some food in our stomach. So toodles, everybody.
See you guys.
Later, everyone.
Peace.